things you do in your room when you're all alone. 3, 4, you want mom or whatever cure that was. 5, 6, found in bliss when you're drunk or you're doing. When you're drunk, 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 or you're doing. 7, 8, feeling brave, but you never really play this game. 9, 10, feels like heaven, you're crying cause you wanna stay. Quick fix, found in bliss when you feel the heartbeat inside. When you're drunk, when you're drunk, when you're drunk, when you're drunk, when you're drunk. Do you believe in magic? Do you believe in magic? When you're drunk, when you're drunk, when you're drunk, when you're drunk, when you're drunk. Me too, I'm just like you, I don't need to have some time. I'm stuck with ego trips, to a never go by. Sometimes I feel magic, but I manage to pick up somehow. Getting drunk, getting drunk, getting drunk, getting drunk, and I'm getting high. Do you believe in magic? Do you believe in magic?
Plata, plata. Cash, cash, cash. Get money, get money. It's bam, bam, bam. Hey, it's bam, bam. She wanna flick for the gram. Plus, her baby sabe who I am, so she wanna do it all on cam. Like, hold up, sabe how to hold a pull up. Soon as we done, I'ma roll up. Full lines are better, I pull up. Papi te paga los biles, pero quiero todo lo tuyo. Prefieres hacerlo conmigo, que siempre lo hacemos bien duro. I bought a Benz straight from the trap. I don't like paying no taxes.
Which is more powerful, mythical sky beast or a powerful sea serpent? Find out in Dragons vs. Leviathans coming up next. That's right, it's the Jade Dragons and Atlantis Leviathans for our second set here on day one, week one of the Road to Worlds phase here in season 10. The SPL, it's Jay Mike. I got Mifflin joining me now on the desk. We're ready to jump into our second set. Had a 3-0 to start our day, and now there's some speculations we've been seeing. Potential 4 or 5 game set ahead of us for some of the matchups like this one, Miff.
Yeah, I think this one has a lot more, I suppose, higher odds, I should say, of going the actual distance. The Only Warriors, of course, have just been on a tear since conception, barring exactly one set, which did cost them a teammate. But otherwise, the Only Warriors, of course, just the top of the league right now. Jade Dragons, the Atlantis Leviathans, much closer together.
Yeah, we can take a look at our schedule for not just what you've already missed today, but what you can expect for the remainder of our weekend as well. If you're just now tuning in, Warriors 3-0 over the Ravens, which now leads us into our Dragons and Leviathans matchup. And then for Saturday and Sunday, you can take a look and see the matchups coming ahead of there. Warriors, Hounds, Gladiators, Dragons for Saturday. Sunday will be the Ravens, Kings, and Leviathans, Ferrymen. And that will be week number 1 here in the Road to Worlds phase of the SPL. Remember, all matchups throughout this regular season, best of 5. So that's why you're only seeing 2, as opposed to what we've seen before, usually seeing 3. We do 3 best of 3s to kind of go through there. And now you can see a little bit of our head-to-head. We had it just earlier on in our first match. You can kind of get a nice little look at all the different players that we have here in our league, name, their age, how long they've been here in the league. I look over and I see adapting 8 years in the league. Feels like it's been even longer than that, but no, it's only 8 years, which is weird to say considering we looked at Zatman, Barracuda players like that who were in the league for 9, 10 plus years at that point. So a lot of long-standing players for this team. In fact, the lowest one is only 4 years for Lasper, but he was also playing SCC before then.
Yeah, I got to thank PBM in particular again for this matchup. Back in the draft show, when we figured out which team's going to be playing against which more often, he said, look, just look forward to the Leviathans matchup. We're going to have the Maxine versus PBM. Air quotes grudge match. I don't think there's any grudges on the board here. I think, of course, these two still very good friends, but also just a little bit extra zest on any matchup where they get to play against each other. Anytime previous teammates meet up on the battleground, there's just a little bit extra sauce on it.
And I think, speaking onto that of previous teammates, now I'm sure that they probably have a way better knowledge of it than even we do, even if we go back and look through all of our databases, because these players always remember who they're teaming with 8, 9, 10 years ago, even if it was just for a random SCC team sometimes. They'll even remember those. But I believe the last time that these two played against each other in the SPL was Season 4 in the first phase. It was spring of Season 4, and then they jumped onto E-United, won that year for Worlds, and then have been teammates ever since then. So it's been a very long time since we have seen PBM and Panda Cat against each other here at the SPL.
But they now know, having spent, 6 years playing together, how they like to play the laning phase, when they want to get aggressive, the overall tendencies of both these players. Nothing is hidden here. I mean, sure, there's been, about 6 months, I believe, since Panda Cat was last in the league. So could be some changes since then. I'm sure he's been watching the games at least. So we'll at least know what PBM's been up to. Does PBM know what Panda Cat's been cooking up for the last half year? I don't know. Does anybody know?
I think that's the question that we're wondering, and maybe one that we'll get an answer to, because we do have both PBM and Panda Cat standing by for our pregame interview.
That's right. We've got some familiar faces here, PBM and Panda Cat here with me for the interview. First things first, it's been a minute since Phase 1 of the SPL, since Masters. There have been plenty of roster changes in the league on some teams, some not on others, right? And there have been meta changes galore as well. Mike, you were one of the teams that chose to stick together. Do you guys feel that was the right decision for the mesh together? And where do you guys feel like you stand in the league right now going into Phase 2?
I kind of think everybody's been getting worse. I think some of these roster changes are really questionable. That's all I'm going to say.
Some questionable roster changes. Panda Cat, you were one of those roster changes. Not him. not. So maybe potentially throwing some shade. But I mean, how do you feel like the Leviathans have stacked up? Obviously, picking you up in that break period right there. You guys feeling good? Where do you guys feel like you stack up with the rest of the teams?
Did you watch the last set? I mean, 8-0 first game back. It's not hard to beat that. You understand? No, I think we're on a good on a good trajectory. I think we've been having good practice. We've been doing well with each other, meshing, bonding, and I think after this set there might be another roster change for those guys.
Some banter already back and forth, and that brings up the history. You guys obviously were dual laners for quite a while. I think in the current SPL format, you've never played. Back in maybe Season 3 or Season 4 was the last time that you were playing up against each other. I got to ask you, Panda, first. How does it feel coming into this new team? What is the difference now laning with a different support for the first time in 5-some years? How does that feel?
It's a unique experience that I think Mike and I both wanted to experience at some point in our careers, just changing our dual lane partner and experimenting with different players. I don't think Ronnie and Mike are too different in terms of play style and how they think and play, so it hasn't been too hard like adapting to playing with Ronnie over Mike. And I don't know, it's just been a good time, like a good change of pace. After you play with somebody for so long, sometimes you wonder like maybe it's right to change, maybe it's not right to change. So I think for me personally, it's been a good move after coming back to League with new support.
Awesome. And Mike, you've obviously been playing with Vote now for a little bit longer during that first phase and into Masters. Do you feel similarly? Like, how has it been with a different ADC?
Yeah, I was expecting a troll answer from him, but I mean, very much echoing the same sentiment. Like when you play dual lane for a long time, like, of course, like as Ronnie is or as Vote is, they've been around for so long that you kind of know what's going on, you know how to play together. At the end of the day, it's just a jungle gap every game, so...
A little bit of a jungle gap, potentially. And that brings me this matchup right here. The meta has shifted a lot, couple map changes, right? And we've obviously seen how we got to adapt to that just in the tournament just a couple of weeks ago. Do you guys feel like the meta has benefited your team? You feel like you have a handle on it going into this game, or do you feel like there's still more to learn?
I'm sure Max will feel the same way. Just everyone's crutching pressure, and it's really sad to see it. Like, you're seeing a lot of low-skill gamers out here get away with murder, and I just hope everyone finds the help they need.
Some low-skill gamers getting away with murder. That's quite the quote. Do you concur?
I concur.
Thank you very much. That'll do it. Thank you guys so much. Good luck in your set. We'll throw it back to the desk.
Low-skill gamers getting away with murder.
Pressure
from
crutch.
PBM. Pressure crutch. And
From
it's
the
just
J-Dragons.
And it's just sad is what Mike says. Always gotta love when you can get Mike into an interview, especially when you have him with somebody.
I like pressure games.
Pressure
Is he
games?
talking about the Warriors?
Hey,
They'll win that set in like 60 minutes.
Yeah,
Like,
their total set time is faster than some teams' 2 game times, and in some cases it might even be faster than their 1 game at
pressure
points.
crutch. They're crutching so hard, they owned us from minute 2. Anybody could do that. What?
And they did so. But now we'll have to see if the J-Dragons adapt to that crutch style of play, or if they want to break out of that one. Similar over for the Atlantis Leviathans. I mean, kind of thinking about it, J-Dragons, that's kind of what they built their namesake on, was the run it down, the Jazzberry Jammers. We're going to build pressure in 2-3 lanes, and we're just going to own anybody.
But to be fair, we haven't really seen that version of the J-Dragons in a while now. Ever since they picked up the original Oni Warriors Core 3, they've essentially adapted to that playstyle a good deal more, maybe with a little bit more aggression around objectives, but otherwise, I tend to agree with what Mike has said. He likes to go for that mid-game pace as opposed to just run it down early.
Now, one thing that was mentioned was jungle gap at the end of the day between everybody. But if you kind of take a look here, a lot of shared gods between these two, a lot of what you'd expect for players who have been playing this game for such a long time. It's when you get to some of the more unique picks between them. Dapping's not playing anything like Athena. He's not going to touch that god anytime soon. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Lazarus is not really playing the ultra hyper carries outside of those shared 6. You're not really seeing a whole lot of a wheeler style game. You're not seeing Ao Kwongs come out of there. So 11 unique gods played, and that's just this year so far, from the beginning of this year up until now. Sharing that at least similar level of diversity, at least amongst a jungler, it does give hope to the players out there knowing that even whenever the meta does shift, there's a lot that these two can fall back towards.
Unfortunately for Lazaro, one of his unique picks being the Athena will generally not go towards him. We've been seeing that Athena in mid a little bit more often, so Laz are going to struggle a little bit more so in the God pool. But what I'm seeing just clearly on the board is that Lazaro more so likes to control that early game. Sure, has some of those late game scalers. You can see it in the shared gods. Hebo, Nemesis comes to mind. But for the most part, Fenrir, Pele, Rat, even Daji to a certain extent, wants to control the pace of the game, can get involved at level 3, makes those rotations towards neutral camps, takes fights there. Whereas adapting for the most part, and this has been true of him for the back half of his career, has really, really leaned into, yeah, I want to scale in the late game, I want to blink in at level 20, one-shot somebody, and then my team can handle the rest, and if things look good, I'll come through and grab a couple more kills. So it's a very clear delineation between both of these players' play styles.
Yeah, kind of reads to me as control for Lazarus versus kill for adapting. He wants to get in there. He wants to be the hyper carry, where Lazarus might try and set the team up a little more, especially when you think things like the Ratatosk or the Athena really come to mind for him as kind of those two picks that have popped up there. Probably more so the Ratatosk, which is what he's been going towards a little bit more often so far, at least between the offseason, now jumping in towards the kickoff, and now here into game number 1 between the Leviathans and the Dragons. Best of 5. We'll see who can get their best foot forward to start out for game number 1, and we'll see how maybe the meta shifts as far as the bans are concerned, because one thing that has been noted about the Jade Dragons, at least in the last few times that we have seen them, is there's been a lot of target banning against them compared to the usual just, oh, we'll ban the meta, this god's strong, this god's good. There's been a lot of bans allocated to Dardes specifically in that mid lane.
Yeah, the Morrigan, Hera, and Athena have been constants in the ban column up against the Jade Dragons. As of now, it's just that Hera targeted towards the mid laner of the Dragons, with one more slot still available. The Levi's have essentially got play of field here. A lot of high meta Guardians still available. I know Yamoja and Ganesh have already been taken off the table, but Charon comes to mind. Ares, another incredibly strong pick. Seems like support's in a very good spot right now. It will be a Pele ban from the Atlantis Leviathans, controlling one of those high pressure picks that we were just talking about from Lazra, taking away that ability to not only scale well into the late game, but also that early game potential that Pele brings. The Jade Dragons in this position, generally you just expect a Chernobog. Instead, it's the Hebo. And so, the Atlantis Leviathans essentially have pick a field. You want to go ahead and grab that global presence, something that's going to have pressure in lane, scale well, essentially good at every single portion of the game, largely hailed as the best god in Smite right now. And the Atlantis Leviathans say, yeah, it's a good pick, I want it. And so, we'll be taking it. No surprises there. Doesn't really reveal too much of your draft. Has slight flexibility potential. We've seen it in mid. We've seen it in ADC. Haven't seen it in solo too often, but maybe once or twice. So some flexibility there as well. The Jade Dragons, I mean, there's no clean answer to this.
I think the one thing that stands out to me, as far as like the first round of bans are concerned, you know, Hera, we already mentioned that's been a lot of Dardes. To me, it's the other end here for the Jade Dragons banning the Raijin. We didn't see it at all in set 1. No picks, no bans. Didn't seem that either of those teams were concerned about it at all. Considering that Raijin was like 100% pick ban during the kickoff. Everybody was either trying to get their hands on the god or making sure that nobody was able to grab that one. Maybe some of the players starting to see how maybe he's not the OP, gotta grab him first kind of style of pick, and maybe focusing a little bit more, because when I think of Raijin players, there's 2 people that come to mind for me. There's Paul, and then there's Shito.
And this is how I know you haven't been watching enough Nika streams.
Well, okay.
He's playing it
that's fair.
A lot right now to the
We know
soul lane.
Dardes doesn't want it. He came out and said, I don't want that pick.
And that's why Nika has been taking it to the soul lane, so that they have an answer when they're forced to take it for themselves. Seems the Jade Dragons, though, maybe have been dissuading him from going towards that hyper-aggressive mage solo. Very, very susceptible to poor early games, but does scale well come late, even with that bruiser-style build. Won't be the case here, though. The Jade Dragons have taken it off the board. Speaking of hyper carries, I mean, the Leviathans come away with a very, very strong composition off rip. You got really good initiation from Amaterasu, counter initiation and objective control from Oleron, and then just structure burn potential. Oleron and Chernobog together. I mean, good luck keeping a Phoenix up if they're allowed onto that tower line. Good luck getting the Fire Giant in time to prevent it from going down. You need to be there off rip. But this is a very smart answer to it. 3 gods from the Atlantis Leviathans that'll find the majority of their damage off of auto attack. Yeah, disarm could do you some good.
The Dragons go with Ares, the Morrigan, and Bologna for their top 3 pick. Chernobog, Oleron, Amma, the opposite side for the Leviathans. We jump into the second wave of bans. So now I guess the question that I can maybe pose this way to you for the Leviathans. It's been a while since we've seen a god like Fafnir pop in. Do you think that there's relevancy maybe for a Fafnir selection, maybe for the Leviathans? You've already got 3 in hands. Make that a little bit more effective with a Fafnir, or do you think that maybe Fafnir's strength just isn't quite there to warrant a selection at this point?
Fafnir is a very specialized pick that opens up the door to very fast objective play. I think that is his primary strength right now, is how quickly Fafnir teams can just roll through a Gold Fury. 6 minutes in, transform, you're going to shred a Gold Fury very quickly. but I think Fafnir has lost a bit of that identity when Ares got some of his buffs most recently, giving over additional auto attack. So now you have the option like, yeah, I can go Fafnir and I'll have 3 single target stuns, or I can go Ares, get some of the additional auto attack stuff, but also have a very high damaging kit that can force speeds really consistently in AoE. So I think although Fafnir can work, he's just been devalued a little bit by some of the changes to other gods in Smite.
First couple of bans through for second wave, Ratatosker and Khepri. Now, Khepri was one of those picks that saw a lot of success during the kickoff tournament. Didn't see quite the success so far in our first set today. Won't be seen at all here, at least in game number 1 of this second one. So the Jade Dragons, they've got their front line with Ares Bellona. We got Darda's Morgan selection, so now it comes down to what do you want for Lasbra? What do you want to give over to Vote in the dual lane? Vote has been very susceptible to just going over to the ROM. It seems to have just become his default as of recent. With a Daji and a Thor to now round out the bans, option goes back to the Dragons.
So adapting, we talked about it, generally is that late game carry style jungler, but looking at the composition that the Leviathans have already spooled up, you don't need that out of your jungle right now. You don't need to get to 30 minutes and have adapting be that guy. Instead, I'd like to see maybe a very aggressive early game jungler, someone that can alleviate pressure or just put out a ton of damage and dissuade the Jade Dragons from pressuring out some of these more susceptible picks. Like, you can't camp Oleron if a Camazotz is hovering constantly, right? You can't really sit on Chernobog as easily if someone is out there looking out for him that can deal some damage. If it's an Ao Kuang out of the jungle, get to 50 minutes, that's a composition from the Leviathans that'll never lose. You just struggle a little bit more so to get to that 50-minute mark. So I think Kabrakan, Camazotz, Amaterasu acting as the core of aggression for this team will serve the Leviathans well in getting Chernobog and Oleron to that late game.
Along with the Camazotz, Kabrakan for the Leviathans to round out their top 5. Jade Dragons in their draft with a Susano now for Lasbra to give him a bit of that control on that style of assassin. So we know that with the Leviathans, 2 in-hands, at least for their primary damage dealers, having an Amaterasu alongside there. Objective's going to be a dangerous place to go, so late game fighting into double hunter, never fun, especially when one is an Oleron has sanctified field. They can drop a hat. So how do the Jade Dragons now fight into this composition the Leviathans put together?
I think it's pretty simple and it's pretty cheesy, and it might be even described as corny a bit here. Double Neath ultimate and Oleron, and then have Susano do everything else. That seems really simple to me. Seems relatively easy to execute on. Every 90 or so seconds it can happen in the late game. There is a lot of potential for the Jade Dragons to pick one player on the Atlantis Leviathan and say, hey, you're not going to have a good game. You're going to have a really bad game, in fact. And your counterplay is Aegis. Or pray that someone's close enough by that they can block out that ultimate. Otherwise, once we get to that phase of the game where, assuming it is Oleron in the duo lane and he's left alone, he's never really going to be alone. As long as he is on map, in vision, he's always going to have that global threat from the Jade Dragons. And it's difficult for gods like Oleron to deal with that.
So in this case now for Leviathans, knowing that Oleron could be probably the most ideal target for the Jade Dragons, what's kind of your answer back? Is it we fight everywhere else where the Oleron isn't at that point? Is it we try and do this protection style of comp for the Oleron? What's kind of that answer back for the Leviathans?
I think the answer to global presence almost always is play where the global is. So if you can camp out the Neath, great, that's fine, amazing. I think probably a little bit better suited to go ahead and put that pressure on the Morrigan. Go ahead, sit there, make sure those transformations have to be channeled into maybe a Kabrakan or a Camazotz for safety, and then all of a sudden, in just forcing out Changeling, you've alleviated a lot of that early game pressure, just taking away those resources and extending the game. The entire game plan for the Leviathans, as far as I'm concerned, is extend the match. Get me to 25, get me to 30. Let's play it slow. They don't need to control the early. So anything that slows down the Dragons, that's them.
We'll have to see if the Atlantis Leviathans can hold out, get to that late game point where they really want to hit, or we'll see if the Jade Dragons can win this one out early. It's our second set of the day here on the Road to Worlds. We're going to kick it off with game number 1 with Frog and Trelly.
Thank you so much, J-Mac and Mifflin. We've got the Atlantis Leviathans going up against the Jade Dragons, and what a matchup to have in our second set of the day. After that 3-0, I think I was looking for a little bit more action. I was left yearning for that Smite action, and I think these are two teams that could certainly give it to us. Both of these squads, we just saw them in the tournament, right, just a couple of weeks ago, and interestingly enough, they both lost Game 5 to the Oni Warriors. You would think that makes them pretty evenly matched here.
That checks out. I think that math adds up here, Frog. The Leviathans and the Jade Dragon, the set that we talked about a bit earlier on today. You know, looking at the Oni Warriors versus just about anyone right now, a 3-0 is certainly something that's possible. But then a matchup like this, Levi's versus Jade Dragon, this is one that could certainly go 5. This is one that I think is going to be a lot more competitive. We talked about, you know, how picks and bans could be a topic of conversation. The desk even highlighted the junglers, all of which seem like they could be, you know, deciding factors. And I'm already, you know, looking towards that tournament. The global presence is something that has been so impactful. There's a reason this pick has been pretty high on the global presence, on the ban charts, and the pick charts, about everything. It's very annoying to deal with, especially once that ultimate gets around. You think you've got a 1v1, you think you've got a gank going, you think you've got a nice 2v2, and then Chernobog just flies in and makes your whole plans ruined.
Yeah, I mean, and we have a couple of ADCs in this match. We've got the Chernobog, we've got the Olaron. We saw both of those in the last set. We've also got the Neath, though, and Mifflin was talking about it on the desk, the combo that could come through in the late game, the burst that could come through that everybody might be surprised by. But this is a pick that we have not seen in a while, typically seen in mid. Might struggle a little bit in the early stages here.
Certainly can. I think it all depends on, number one, how you're playing that pick, and number two, how much pressure is put into your lane. If you're allowed to just farm freely, use your Spirit Arrow, sort of get heals and stay back, all is well. If you just go into a corner, shoot some World Reavers, make everyone's life miserable, it's a good time. However, your backflip isn't always the safest tool to get away. You only get one pair of beats because you don't have that CC immunity baked into your kit. It is all depending on, you know, positioning and how much a jungler is going to make your life miserable.
Well, do have a quick restart there, but should be getting back into game here now. And this gives us a chance to look at some of these builds. Recipe check off the bat. We did have Scream Forget in the last set. We saw him on Twitter for that. But everybody's got their recipes. Everybody has that starter build. And I think I'm looking immediately at the solo lane. I recognized it for Amaterasu. We've seen that pick quite a bit with the Death Toll. But Bologna, first time in a minute that we're seeing this pick taken to the board, and the same starter item off the bat, looking to match the auto attack pressure.
All right, listen, Frog. The recipes are new. If someone forgets those, we can cut them some slack. But if someone forgets their starter item, there's something seriously wrong. I like the idea that would just happen. However, Wrong U does have the 3 on Kabrakan, which is something that is going to help you out a ton for the early clear. I guess you will be getting the lane quicker, but it does put you very weak, which could be an issue. How good are you going to be able to channel Tremors when PBM gets over to level 2? We'll have to see if it's even a possibility, because Wrong U is going to start channeling. You'll see how much damage he's going to tank. But look, Vote's getting caught out as well.
Yeah, they've hit level 2 first. The chase is on, finds the beads, and the damage comes through. Panda Cat, back in the SPL, makes a statement, grabs first blood for the Levi's.
Yo, I mean, Vote must be trolling. That is, you notice he has Tremors, and instead of backing up and just auto-attacking, he actually walked in, held the beat for such a long time, and shouts out to Panda Cat for hitting those auto-attacks. Ends up working out real well. I really thought Wrong U might have been in a bad spot if the Neath doesn't just walk forward and tank all that damage. Beautiful play. Ends up working out, and you get Olaron off to a great start. Yeah, Panda Cat, welcome back to the SPL. You got just spoon-fed as much gold as you could want.
And Vote is still level 1 just now, ticking over in this lane. This is the pick that we were talking about. No CC immunity for Neath, one of those hunters that we've typically seen out of the ADC role just because of that lack of inherent safety, whereas Panda Cat, you know, he can drop the Sanctified Field every time he needs to fight somebody. And getting off to a lead on this Olaron definitely could be a benefit. He's not a character you typically think about in the early game, and going towards that ring first, nothing like a Bancroft, so maybe not taking advantage of. But I think getting him off to a good start definitely could bring even more pressure in this duel lane.
Yeah, certainly so. So now Lazar has a difficult choice to make. Do you go over to duo lane early on? Obviously the shield buff was not the call. Lazar did head over to right to try and fight for the cooldown buff, and was able to pick that one up. But do you try and babysit Vote, try and get him back online, try and help out this Neath, or what we see more often than not, completely ignore duo lane, let him sit underneath his tower and just leave him alone and fight elsewhere? If I've learned anything from watching some of these junglers play, your carry potential is much more impactful if you ignore your team, play a bit selfishly, and get ahead. I think Lazara will and should do that style of play. It's one thing to say, hey, he's on Olaron, Panda Cat's going to put himself out of position, but it's still not easy. You highlighted what Sanctified Fields comes through. Lazara does not have beads. You're going to be in slow motion for the entirety of the gank. not going to be easy to try and pull off unless Dardes uses some of that global presence to try and help you out.
They're trying to force the pressure here on this left-hand side. Purple buff spawning. Levi's do secure it, though. J-Dragons choose to back off instead. No eyes in the jungler, perhaps afraid of the rotation. But you mentioned the jungle matchup, and I think that's an interesting one to talk about because I think the scaling on these characters is generally pretty different. Camazotz has a much more volatile early game, I would say, as compared to the Susano, who wants to be that hyper farm character, maybe waiting for that mid or late game to get online. But also, I feel like I look at the rest of the Camazotz team, and they want to maybe play a little bit more passive. So where does adapting look to get involved here early, if at all?
I think solo lane is still going to be a topic of conversation for both of these squads. As you can see, Lasbra is lurking over in solo, wants to try and find a gank if possible. How much damage does he really have here? Yeah, not much. Kill opportunity, not so much. But hey, at least confirms the totem for his team. That's what I imagine, though, from adapting as well. Adapting is one of the more selfish junglers in the league. I'm not saying that is a negative. He recognizes how much farm can impact your ganks, just getting that one extra item online, that one extra power spike just quickly. So adapting may just leave his team until he's able to get, half a level lead in the jungle or an easy 1v1, something like that. And then once he hits that spike, then he's able to get active, look towards solo, as I said. But I don't think you're fighting through PandaCat at the moment, because if you look, when Vote and PBM are in lane, they are likely under tower, and that is not an easy time to try and find a gank as a Camazotz. Sure, you have Bat Out of Hell, which you can go above the tower, but you're not swinging for 100-0 damage just yet.
And adapting, in fact, I think already has found about a half-level lead. He's level 6, whereas Lasbra fallen behind a little bit at level 5. He's had that for the last couple of levels, it looks like. This pressure, though, still being maintained as the supports rotate out of the duo lane. And Mike, I think, is going to be a big proponent of this. He picked the Gabrakan. He was the one that helped get that first blood alongside the autos. I have it completely reversed for whatever reason in my head. It's wrong you on the Gabrakan. But, I mean, look at where he's standing. They're holding the wave. He's just waiting for the purple buff to spawn. And Camazotz is over there as well. It's clear they want to continue to focus this left side.
And that's my point, right? Lasbra's not going to go over there. There's no reason for him to try and fight adapting as well. But what gank is there to have when Vote is sitting where he is? The junglers are going to vastly ignore the left side of the map, and I think rightfully so. You just gotta hope Vote can stay alive. Good damage here. Here comes the transformation. Looks like they're trying to get accurate.
Dardes is in aggressive, and Shinto can't get up into the air. Adapting has the World Weaver on him, but will be taken away as he finds his way safely under the Tier 1 tower. J-Dragons answer back, and in an instant, Shinto is gone.
Yep, that's how much damage Dardes can dish out. Unfortunately, the ult didn't do too much at that point. It was just, hey, we're going to get some damage onto Shinto. See, can go up to the sky. Are able to take down the Chernobog and at least even up the kills and pretty much the gold. It was never that massive of a gold lead to start with, but at the very least, good positioning, and I think that shows how much not only Dardes can do, but Mike as well. This Ares pick is dominant in lane, yes, but really does get so much more impactful when there's easy setup for the chains. Not the most easy ability to hit. If you're able to, chain those shackles together, that's when the damage starts racking up. That's when you can really start to lock someone down. That's the benefit of picking a pick like Ares at the moment. And remember, those beads are also down. Shinto is going to have to use that ultimate. But look at this gold fury. As anyone knows is happening, Mike's the closest, and he's not close enough.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was expecting that Shinto comes over to help, but is not even needed. A free 7-minute Gold Fury there. Typically we see these slow games and we wait for the first fight to happen, maybe even around the beacon, 5 minutes from now. And we're still waiting for that fight, but Leviathans, they just find a gap in the ward coverage. They catch the dragon sleeping.
Yep, and because of that, the ward coverage is still so impactful, right? I see this a lot with the Oni Warriors. They'll just pull an objective just to pull it to see how quickly the response time was. And I think that's what the Leviathans did. They had the pressure, they had the knowledge that the J-Dragons had no idea that was being done. And because the response time was so low, because they pulled and no one showed up, yeah, you just commit to that, get a massive lead. And you know what Rongyu does? He goes back, gets the fully upgraded meditation. If you haven't been paying attention to the Gabrakan changes, those tremors already on like a 3-second cooldown once you actually get some CDR built in, throw an upgraded meditation and bountiful bow into the mix, you are essentially chaining 4 or 5 CCs together instantaneously. It can be disgusting in a team fight if given the positioning. So keep your eyes on Wrong You when there are some carries to be CC'd.
Ultimate out here from Fine OK, and Cheeto joins the fray. Nika has to jump away, but does not have it, and gets taken out by the mid laner. A 4-man rotation here for the Levi's onto the right-hand side. They'll take down one and walk away from the fight. The rotation late there from the Jade Dragons, and I think Nika had just seconds left on that get out of jail free card, but gets caught with the ultimate down.
And that's important, you know. Fine OK said, hey guys, Eagles rallies down for, you know, a solid 10 seconds or so. If we're ganking, let's do it now. Vote tries to send over the World Reader, help out his team. Does not matter at that point. Easy gang. Once again, Lasper heads over here, but there's just no kill opportunity. Every time I see Susano look towards Azama, there is not blood in the water. I see no attempts at a kill, even with dazzling offensive down. It's not going to be easy. But that just goes to show how much these CC immune ultimates can be important. We saw how tanky Nika was, but one stun, and it was just a dog pile effect, thanks to Shinto as well, for ulting over. This Chernobog is going to keep, you know, rinse and repeating that same play. Oh, you guys are fighting? I'm clicking 4, I'm on the way. Even if I don't get the kill, my presence, my CC, is all going to be necessary.
Yeah, and Dardas can make that same decision too, right? He can turn into the Chernobog if he wants to match their rotation there, just trailing behind, and did make it to the right side a little bit later, let the solo laner fall. But I mean, these individual kills are not going to be the story of this game. That one kill happens, it's now 2-1 in favor of the Levi's. But I still feel like they've got a 2,000 gold lead almost. I don't really feel like that's being driven by the kills. It's that gold fury, it's the macro play, it's the map farm that's a little bit better for the Levi's, and I think it's going to put them in a slightly better position for these mid-game fights as we round that 10-minute mark.
Yeah, you can go ahead and check the net worth. Again, Vote getting off to that unfortunate start means that he is just 1,000 gold down for fun, essentially. The gilded procs that Panda Cat's able to grab. The XP looks fine. If you look at their builds,
right,
I mean, you can tell that Vote's got some gold in hand, right? So he's about to be able to go back, but looks like another attempt. Why is Vote so far up? His speeds are already pulled. There's so much more CC coming.
Everything comes through, but he was bound to be trapped at the end of it. It's now the counter rotation to see if Dardes can get anything going. He does burn the beads, at least, from Shinto, so maybe PBM looking for a pull a little bit later on, but you're absolutely right, just pushed up Vote on this susceptible pick, does not respect the global pressure, and now they may have caught out another couple of members. Ultimates come through, but Lasper doesn't survive to see the Ares ultimate. Panda Cat takes him down, and now Adapting is over here. It's a 4v2 if they want to dive the tower. The health bars are a little bit too tanky for them to feel comfortable with that. It's a great fight and 2 picks, and it's right as the Gold Fury spawns.
And that's a classic case of forgetting about the global presence. Vote said, hey, there's no one here. I can easily just one-shot this wave and then back up. Unfortunately, that was still wrong because Wrong You was nearby. It was a fly-in from Shinto as well as the extra backup that made sure that fight goes perfectly for the Leviathans. You highlighted the Fury was available, but that same level of ward coverage wasn't there. Adapting, forcing the bat out of hell, is going to get stunned here, and Adapting is going to try and blink away, but Lasper still has his blink. He should be able to chase this one down, but he doesn't want to go for it. The blink wasn't enough to try and close gap. He thought he could blink before that stun came through, but Adapting's too quick, and he's able to get out of there.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised by that. I thought the Neath ultimate was instant once you hit the ground, but Adapting able to get the blink off.
Adapting plays on instant cast relics, and we just learned it because you got to be very fast to be able to tap that point there.
You got to be spamming that button, but it does secure him his life. I think if he doesn't blink away there,
oh for sure,
I think he definitely falls to the other side. But Lasbret not able to chase that one down. Good showing, though, from the awareness there on the side of the Dragons, right? They picked this Neath late in the draft to try and catch out those exact types of plays. And it's only going to be easier to try and coordinate those Neath ults on dives as we get closer towards the very grouped up fights. It's only going to get easier to use those.
Yep, even in the full auto attack builds, we see this a lot where the Fail Knot has been picked up over the Jotuns. It just makes so much more sense. It's a build that I don't even like. I prefer the full ability base, but why wouldn't you just grab Fail Knot over Jotuns? They do similar things. You can get extra cooldown with the buff spawns now, and the extra crit chance is just nice for when you're boxing. Easy beacon there for the Jade Dragons. Unfortunately, the Leviathans were not in position to go for it. They were actually setting up for an Oni Fury, but instead, Fine OK's pushing forward, running right past the Fury, and trying to find Vote, who got the message and ran immediately towards that tier 2.
They used the pressure to get the tier 1, and now they're on to the Oni Fury. And I think very similarly, the Levi's give away the beacon, and the Jade Dragons, they used all their pressure for that, so they have to give away the Oni Fury. And that Soul Lane rotation plays a big part as well. I'm not sure anybody on the Jade Dragons is prepared to step up to Fine-OK in the current state that he's in right now. Nika using that chance to get a little bit of extra farm, finds himself now even with the Fine-OK Amaterasu. And talk to me about these fights, because I feel like we're on the precipice, getting closer and closer, and I'm still focused towards this Soul Lane. We've seen the Ama resurgence, and Nika specifically has been a big player of the Amaterasu character, but now bring the Bologna back, and we won't even get a chance to. Polar Bear Mike caught out in the ultimate, but uses the ultimate of his own, and a triple knockup. Blasper goes huge, and the CC is onto all of them.
Ult dead, and here comes Nika charging forward. The Eagles rally is going to force everyone back. But look at these low health bars. Nika is going to be in a bit of trouble, but there's no follow-up damage. It's Adapting who's diving the backline.
He's completely dedicated onto Dardes, but PBM finds the chains, and the cripple is enough to slow him down. Nika still being chased out by Fine-OK, has the tier 1 tower. And the disarm will slow things down enough, but Adapting may be here to help. And the rotations are not done quite yet. Fine-OK still wants to dive, and Adapting waiting for the right opportunity, but PBM on the rotation over. And look at Lasbra coming through the Fire Giant pit. Could look for some additional action, but for all of the action, no Pyromancer, no kills, just a bunch of ultimates used.
Yep, it seemed like I like the Pyromancer call. But at that point, you just got to look towards Nika, who hits a massive ultimate, was able to find the 1 pick. And that just helps out, right? Because you see the Jade Dragons are able to fight back. They do have XP leads in the solo and the jungle. Adapting has not been able to find that same level of farm. Fine-OK doesn't have teleport. He went in for the frenzy. He's trying to help his team do objectives. That means that Nika can match those rotations. He can get a little bit more farm by teleporting back to lane quicker. And those sort of things can add up when it comes time for team fight. Mike is so tanky. Even like when he's stunned like this near carries, you can just tell he's not going to be taking too much aggro. This Ares pick, double aura starters, is going to be a good time regardless of your level. So being a level down over towards Wrong U is not going to hurt him in the slightest. But as you said, that Pyromancer was, sort of started up, but not dropped down, and it's actually PandaCat who beats us immediately and tries to turn this.
He gets Sanctified Field out early, and it's just enough to punish Lasbra. We talked about him going for that gank a little bit earlier, and that's exactly what's going to happen. He gets turned around on, and Vote got the memo this time. He is running away all the way up the lane. It might not matter, though. The backflip comes back up. The dive could come through, though. Adapting off the mark with the jump. It's only Vote over here to try and defend himself, but the tier 2 tower will be enough to dissuade the Leviathans from continuing. Lasbra was the one on the engage there, but the immediate reaction, the well-timed ult, the Leviathans were over there in an instant, and he gets punished.
I mean, that was the bait, right? I think that PandaCat stepped up, maybe didn't know exactly where Lasbra was, but had an idea that there was an aggressive play happening. Immediately beads drops the Sanctified Fields, and Lasbra didn't have beads. So the second that Adapting shows himself, that fight's over. And you could see Vote, who was trying to step up and help his team, had to immediately run back. Luckily, backflip came up just in time, and now the Leviathans go for the 50-50, but the Jade Dragons steal it away.
The
Mike
fire
is able to grab the Pyromancer, and he picks up his prize. He grabs the Runic Bomb and walks away unfazed.
Oh my goodness, that steal has to feel bad. Good for Mike, though, that he gets to steal away, feeling good. Keeping the Jade Dragons close here in the gold lead and grabbing them the first Runic Bomb of the game. But you can see the rotation over immediately from the Leviathans continuing to focus on this left-hand side, and I think that's because this Gold Fury has respawned. Jade Dragons have now given up this objective for free, perhaps unintentionally and then intentionally. 2 different times. They're not about to do it the 3rd time. In fact, they're here first. and it's down to half HP already. Looking for the secure, and they do manage to take the objective. But now Rongu on the chase. Tapping the damages onto PBM, but Cheeto is so far forward. Dives in for the 1v1 onto Vote, and it's going to continue the chase on his own, all the while adapting, and the rest of the Levi's pick up PBM, while Shinto 1v2s on the left-hand side, and adapting here to miss everything and not secure those kills. But great teamwork out of the Levi's. They at least get one.
3 seconds on the blink. If Adapting waited, maybe he's able to find a guaranteed kill. That Vampire Bats was a little bit out of range. But look at this play. Remember, the Leviathans have plenty of shred, and the J-Dragons, they know something could be happening here. Nika steps forward, and that should be enough to just stop this Fire Giant pull before it even starts up. The J-Dragons have been on point. They let one Gold Fury sneak between their nose. They said, we are not letting this one slide again.
Yeah, they were there way, I mean, it was right as the Leviathans backed as well. I think they hopped onto the objective early, and they're going to be the ones on the beacon yet again. So they'll grab this second beacon. They'll have that additional objective pressure, the additional power as well. They got the last Pyromancer, they got the last Gold Fear. I'm counting on my fingers here, Trelly. It feels like the J-Dragons have taken the objective control of this game with the last couple of them. After the Leviathans found some free objectives early on, now that the Dragons are fighting for it, it feels a little bit more difficult for the Levi's to step in.
Certainly does. The Leviathans are here. Remember, Panda Cat is not sitting in lane. The Oleron has shown up once again towards the Fire Giant showing. There could have been a potential for a pull, and I love this call. Whenever there's a Chernobog on the map, this is the kind of play I want to see. Group up towards Fire Giant the second you can, but send that Chernobog left. Shinto is going to hit level 20. He's going to upgrade his starter item. He's going to farm, and he's going to pull someone over as well. In this case, Dardes, at the very least, can transform into that Chernobog as well and follow the rotation, which certainly helps. But someone still has to stop the push, and that means either A, the Leviathans are taking a 4v4 over on right, or near Fire Giant, or Shinto is going to get plenty of farm to himself, and he's already top farm on the map, so trying to get this Chernobog fast track to late game seems like a good play to me.
We've reached 20 minutes in this one, and the gold lead, the experience lead, it all feels a little bit insignificant at this point with how these fights have been going. Nobody feels ready to break into a 5-on-5 just yet. We've gotten some chases here and there. The Levi's having a huge chase down after the last Gold Fury. But with neither of these smaller objectives being available on the map, I think we're starting to see this positioning, starting to see this pressure around the Fire Giant. And both of these teams have some shred in their composition, but I'm really looking at the Levi's. 2 ADCs, an Amaterasu passive, and it's just for this reason. They can just pick up the Fire Giant and test the waters whenever they want. They get it down to half HP. Looks like they're going to step off, though. That damage check is real, though. They can shred that thing.
They certainly can, but remember, Shinto is able to split push left. So far, no ultimate from Dardas to try and stop him. In fact, he doesn't have the damage, so Shinto is not an immediate threat. Laspra also making the rotation over, all the while the Leviathans are going in for this Fire Giant. Is Shinto going to join them? Are they looking for the fight? It seems like it.
Vote forced into the back flip, leaves Nika in the front line. The ultimate hasn't been expended yet, though, and he's been chased down and trapped in the Tremors. Ronnie gets the last hit, and the Soul Laner now down for the J-Dragons. A 5 versus 4, but some ultimate expended there for the Leviathans, and the Dragons still have room to play. Fire Giant down to half HP. They're looking for the entrance in. The Sanctified Field gets dropped. It has to be a steal, and I don't know if it's there. They take it away. The J-Dragons got it. They've cut it around their waists, and it's the chase now for the Leviathans. PBM sacrificing himself as a good support should do. I don't even know what stole that, but the J-Dragons come away with it.
Yeah, Vote goes massive there for his team. The slow motion I thought would have been enough to try and confirm that one. The Typhoons were flying, but it was the Spirit Arrow from Vote that was able to steal that Fire Giant away. And now Dardes luckily is able to go back to base just in time. He almost got caught out there. Leviathans go in for a risky play. And I'm not going to say it didn't pay off, because you kill 2, you get a Fury, and you're still in a commanding position, but at the very least the J-Dragons have stalled out the push of the Leviathans, showing them, hey, you can't just go for a risky toss-up on our FG without the confirmation towards that objective. You're going to have to play that one just a little bit more carefully. I do not imagine the J-Dragons are going to push up with this buff, it is on, I mean, all of the carries, but your tanks really do need that regen, especially if they're trying to tank up a tier 2 tower this early on in the game. There's not that much tank stats, you know, between them. So I'm thinking group up, get some farm, maybe fight over some objectives, but stall out and wait for the Leviathans to make a play, which they surely will, right? They've got so many level 20s at this point, being Fine OK and Shinto. They want to step up and they want to find a pick wherever they can.
Yeah, they still have the gold lead, right? This Fire Giant power play so far is a negative 2,000 gold difference, which is a great graphic that we have up there. But a good steal from the Dragons. They'll take that one away. They'll slow the game down a little bit further and try and get towards these 6-item slotted builds. And let's take a look at the builds, because one item I think for me is pretty interesting, and it's the one on Rongyu here. I think that's an Absolution in that second item slot. I feel like I haven't seen that in forever, but an interesting effect he could bring to the team fight.
Yeah, it's pretty much anti-Ares item, right? Anytime there's an Ares, your support picks it up, tries to help CC immune your team. You got to be on point with it. It's not an item that anyone can just pick up. You have to know the timing, right? It's like a cleanse. If you're using it correctly, your teammates don't have to beat an Ares pull. But if you're not, it can be wasted, and you'd rather just have another item in that slot. But of course, Rongyu's going to make sure that a Panda Cat's beads are down. He doesn't have to waste them. Jade Dragons, remember, they still do have that Fire Giant buff on their carry, so they can confidently walk up towards this beacon, and this will unleash the Titans once it's captured. All the while, you can just expect to see Shinto somewhere in the background getting farm in any given fight. Nika forced to teleport away to try and stop that tower from dropping. That should be the opening Leviathan we're looking for.
Okay, dashing in and Shinto's back. Sanctified Field drops, and Mike gets swallowed alive, taken down by the mid laner, and the fight continues on as Fine-OK diving under the tier 2, but now Nika has rejoined the fray, and Lasper has a window as well. He gets the ultimate on a 2, but is forced to dash away. It's the transformation from Dardet. Everybody from the Levi's is shredding, and both tanks fall. It's Dardet and then Nika, and maybe even both here under the tier 2 tower. Shinto grabs the second of the fight. 4 down for the Jade Dragons. The Levi's looking to push the bird.
Lazarus got a wraparound here. He's going to try and delete Panda Cat. Certainly could be possible, but how much does that do? Can he get another one? No, it's just the kill on the Panda Cat. Now adapting gets to play chase while that mid bird should fall down. The Phoenix is the target, all the while adapting just going to zone. Mike can try and stop it, but one Phoenix is the prize the Leviathans are after, and they're able to back up. Puzzling transformation there from Dardes. I understand the one to just go in.
What is this?
But Lazarus stuck around here. I'm not sure he's got the damage to get in and get out, and all the while, Fine-OK's got a wraparound.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to 1v1. Certainly doesn't want it with Fine-OK, and Lasbra will fall for trying something cheeky there. Luckily, no Fire Giant around his waist to lose, but they lose the Phoenix, they lose the fight, and the tier 2 tower there in the mid lane. That is a punishing engagement for the Jade Dragons, all in the span of one fight. That's a big swing here at 25 minutes.
It certainly is, but now the Leviathans are able to unleash the Titans finally. Decide where they want to push, or even if they want to push with their Titan. Because again, Primal Fury is available, Gold is still impactful at this point in the game, and that Primal Fury will help their DPS towards an objective. Pyro, Fire Giant, Titans. Those are all, number one, places we could see grouping in an actual team fight, but number two, consolation prizes for whatever team wants to go for Fire Giant, the team that wants to just ignore it and try and get farm elsewhere. And another thing to remember, it's not EFG Frog. That is still not the end-all be-all. With one Phoenix down, it's going to be difficult to try and defend your right side bird, especially with a full health Titan pushing in. But you don't have to die for this Fire Giant. That's probably the call the Jade Dragons are deciding on right now. Do we step forward? Do we try and fight? Who's going to stop Shinto from split pushing left? And do we have a way to engage on a Fire Giant? Can we steal it away again? All those questions and more. Answered here shortly as the Leviathans wait for their Titan to push up.
So far, Shinto has been incredibly successful with this macro play across the map. Oh no. He drops the Primal Fury, takes a little bit of extra damage for it. But, I mean, you know, just in that right side fight that we just saw, it was him coming in early, beats Nika to the fight with that ultimate, and he's able to make a huge impact. Grabs 2 kills in that fight all the while. Dardes transformed into Bologna that fight, was not able to follow the Chernobog, and in fact, Dardes doesn't realize that, I mean, I guess Shinto is now coming out of base, still going to be on the left side, but somebody might not realize that somebody is here over on this left side and could be catching someone out, but
I want to see this 1v1 if it happens.
yeah,
Dardes has been waiting for so he has to stealth so far away so that Shinto doesn't hear.
This could.
Here he goes. Yep.
Oh, he's going around.
He hasn't won though.
Hasn't won. Looking for the stun. Transforms into Susano. And oh no, the knockup gets immune, and he's going to make it over to the fight, but he has to go to an enemy player and dashes into the wall immediately. All the while, onto the Fire Giant goes the rest of the Levi's. Lasper takes down Shinto in trade, so he doesn't get away fully, but the Fire Giant goes the way of the blue squad, and they're using it for the fight. Nika will get taken down on the other side. It's a 1-for-1 thus far, but Levi's in the driver's seat.
Yeah, they still have their Titan. The Leviathans have a beautiful tank to try and go in for the tier 2 tower. Dardes with no ultimate is going to have to channel his back, but he might not even be here in time. Someone's going to have to deal with the Titan. Someone's going to have to deal with the fight, but did the Leviathans walk forward without their true ADC? I don't think so. Pandacat does good damage, but he's not going to be able to get to that Titan easily. Here comes the wraparound. Lasper once again looking for the Olaron.
He's behind. They've seen him out, though, and now they're just back onto the Titan. It's falling fast, and Finocane adapting makes so much space. Dardes gets forced out, and the bird is next to fall. PBM on the chopping block as well, and Lasbra never able to get into the fight. The Leviathans play around the space perfectly. They get the next bird, and they still have the man advantage here in the enemy base.
They've got plenty of sustain. As long as they're grouping for their heals, they might as well go in for this mid Phoenix. Doesn't seem like Lasper wants to go in here. The mid bird definitely dropped, but you got to try and defend that left side tower, that left side Phoenix. Pull back in on the wrong U, but it doesn't seem like his health bar is moving too much. Leviathans got what they were after, and they're able to back up with still 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the power play. They've got time to regroup and go in for one more bird, or at the very least that tier 2 over on left.
Yeah, they have knocked down all the structures on the right side, all the structures in the middle lane. It's only that tier 2 and that Phoenix remaining. Now, granted, the best Phoenix still up on the map, so if they do want to fight towards this EFG inevitably coming in a little bit, they'll have the mid lane and the left lane on their side from their point of view, right, to try and be able to clear those minions, be a little bit closer. But I mean, we're not even there yet. They have to make it through this potential next siege, because like you said, they have the time on this Fire Giant if they want to continue to push down this tier 2 tower. And I guess, like, my question, do the Jade Dragons just hold for the next Fire Giant? Just let them have the tier 2, defend the Phoenix, wait until you can get the next fight? Or is this somewhere where you have to find a successful Lasbra lap around? You have to find something out of surprise. That's where they've been getting their only little successes here in Village.
Yeah, you definitely gotta let this tier 2 go down, but defending this Phoenix will be key. The question is, can Mike get forward? Can he find an impactful ultimate? All the relics are currently down, but they're coming up quickly. Both Shinto's and Pandacat's relics in about 15 seconds or so. So positioning is going to be key. That absolution will have to be on point. There's no way Pandacat leaves wrong U's side anytime soon, just because of the plays that Mike could make. But remember, they are on a timer. The Leviathans have a minute left on this buff, and they have one key target. That's the Phoenix. All the while trying to find a gank onto Shinto is the call, and he's going to hide the wall for now, but there's no way he makes it up into the sky.
He's so low, and they'll take down the mid laner on the right-hand side, but it's a 4v3 on the left bird, and they'll use it to take the final Phoenix. Now all 3 down for the Jade Dragons, and the base has been broken wide open. They keep spending resources to deal with Shinto, but if anything, that's just value. That's what the Leviathans want. If you need to spend everything to go kill Shinto, we're just going to get the objectives. And now, they might even turn it around. They thought they were sleeping, but Levi set a trap, and Dardes is in on the back. He gets the Aegis from Pandacat, but the turnaround could be here. Both low and down into the great screen as the members continue the damage. Lasper now fighting back, but adapting finds one as well. The trades continue, and Rangu is the target of Nika's. Finocane finds the enemy jungle. It's a 3 versus 2 now in lives, but Shinto has that ult. They can keep this going.
They certainly can. Stun on Anika should be good. All the while, Dardes is trying to deal with fire minions. 3 Phoenixes down means the end call could be the play. But look at the flying from Shinto. He's already showing up. This Titan is not long for this world.
They've got fire minions, and they've got 4, and Dardes has let the fate be known. Game 1 goes to the Atlantis Leviathans.
That just goes to show. I mean, there was a lot of weight on Mike to be the initiation for that team, right? If Dardes couldn't find a good stealth play, if Lasbra couldn't find a flank, it's all on the Ares, but there was no blink, and Absolution shut down just about every no escape that we saw there. Wrong You said, hey, don't even use your beads. Don't worry about it. I got you. I will drop my ult. I'm going to ult Mike and trap him in, all the while CC immuning you in the process. Just so difficult to try and find a siege there. But you asked me beforehand, was that the correct call? And I think so. I mean, if you lose that Phoenix, EFG is all but guaranteed.
Right.
And then you have to deal with a situation where you've got 3 Phoenixes down into EFG. They're all one shot from just about anyone because of that buff. And then your Titan is just a stiff breeze from being knocked down. So I respect the attempt at the fight, but they were just too far behind.
I was thinking, I kept thinking why we didn't see more of the Cabrakan walls trapping people in.
Yep.
And I was like, it's just a counter engage. They're just waiting to see what the Dragons do and reacting to it. But they waited, they played their game, they had a plan going in, and I think that plan worked to perfection. Certainly some adaptation needs to happen after this Game 1, perhaps for both squads, as this draft is sure to change. But we'll see how they adapt after game number 1 after the break.
Smite fans, it's J-Mac here. You're casual in ranked games, gotcha town, and looking for something a little more competitive? Well, we got just the thing for you. Check out our community esports, which hosts a plethora of events where you can play not just with your friends, but even sometimes against them. We've got just about every type of community esport that you can imagine. Long-form leagues mimicking the pro and amateur circuits, draft-style leagues if you want to spice things up and play with a whole bunch of different people, or if you're just in the mood for the occasional tournament, we've got plenty of those happening weekly, monthly, and sometimes even more often than those. If leagues are your thing, we got plenty to satiate that competitive appetite. Albion Giants, Quack and Smite, and Glarious Smite leagues are just a few of our many orgs open to join. Give them a check and see what fits you best. If you've never seen a draft-style league, then you're in for a treat. The Smite Draft League and Olympus Smite League are just two of the largest draft leagues in the scene, and you should definitely give them a try, or at the very least, give them a watch to see what all the hype is about. If you can't commit to full leagues and just want to have some competitive fun, there's a plethora of weekly tournaments from orgs like Iced Esports, Vulpus Esports, and so many more. So, what are you waiting for? Head on over to SmiteAmateurLeague.com and check out everything that we have in store for you. There's a whole bunch of different checkboxes, whether you're playing on mouse and keyboard or controller, what region you are, what MMR division you are in your rank, to help you find the best suited league or tournament for you. So go out there today. We hope to see you on the battleground.
That's right. Make sure that you sign up for a community esport going on right now. Leagues, tournaments, all that greatness out there. If you do !SAL, it will give you a link to the website for Smite Amateur League. But also, if you haven't gotten a chance to play in one or watch one, well, we're bringing the Community Esports Showcase back as well. Mondays and Tuesdays, 7 p.m. here on the Smite Game Twitch channel. We have 4 new leagues and tournaments that are now joining into our rotation. The Camelot Smite League, Glarious Smite League, Animosity Amateur Smite, and Zeta Corp are now all joining the rotation, so make sure that you check them out on Mondays and Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern here on the Smite Game channel. So make sure you go out there, watch them, sign up for them. It's a lot of fun and a lot of gems out there for you to earn as well if you can jump into those leagues. So make sure you jump in on those ones. Game number 1 here, though, Mifflin, Atlantis Leviathans, able to find themselves a nice win up against the Jade Dragons. A little bit of back and forth throughout the early game, but Atlantis Leviathans able to pull themselves through, able to weather the storm against what the Jade Dragons were able to run at them early with.
I mean, I don't even know that weather the storm does them justice. The Atlantis Leviathans win out on the early game for the most part. We're controlling a lot of those engagements, a few of the fights, found picks across the map. But by the time we did reach that team fight phase, the issue that the Jade Dragons run into is, sure, we can kill a priority target. We'll take down Panda Cat. We can get onto the Ola Run or the ADC. But in doing so, took so much damage. It took so much effort, so much time to hit pay dirt on that first kill. By the time they'd shut down Panda Cat, it immediately leaves Shinto in a position where he could just start running it down. Or if they take down both, they'd already taken so much damage that Adapting's allowed to run free. At no point did the Jade Dragons find a clean pick and then disengage. It was always, we have to all in. We're already so far up on the map. If we retreat, we're going to get completely wiped for no return. Let's go ahead, try our best to just take the engagement. And unfortunately for them, they were never quite in a position that was going to work out for them wholly. The Jade Dragons, though, do find a few sneaky good plays, especially around that Fire Giant. Being able to grab that one essentially extends the game for about 30 seconds until PBM gets picked out once more in the center of the map. And from there, the Atlantis Leviathans just clean in their team fight, take it very well. I felt like they paced the team fights well. They would find a pick, find a kill, fall back, leverage some of that healing from Oleron or Fire Giant, rinse, repeat, until eventually that Titan's knocked down.
I think some of it also came down to what you were saying during the picks and bans, which was there's a lot of global presence on the enemy team, so play where the globals are. Don't allow them to really utilize that kind of global style ability, always making sure to dive into the dual lane was the Atlantis Leviathans. We constantly saw them over there either dealing with Vode or Mike if he's roaming around, also making sure to kind of keep Dardes out of these engagements as well, because it felt like Dardes wasn't able to get very active on the Morgan. I mean, I look up at one point, there's maybe 2-3 deaths on everybody else on his team, and Dardes is sitting there at 0-0-1 on the Morgan, full HP, going back to base at the time. So it really felt like the Leviathans were able to kind of just keep Dardes at bay and make sure that he wasn't able to get active.
Yeah, and I think that is something you're going to have to do just about any time Dardes is playing anything, right? Is go ahead, jump on him, keep the pressure up there. It's essentially just hard-baked into Dardes' God pool. His picks don't do well into pressure. When I think of Hera or the Morrigan or anything like that, it seems like the answer is always just be where he is, right? So I think the Jade Dragons probably wary of that, realize that they need to draft around him, draft some pressure, perhaps some peel, and that'll help them out a good deal. that composition for the Atlantis Leviathans, though, I think once they were able to get into the late game, there wasn't a whole lot you could do about it. And so they felt the pressure to play early, get knocked down a few too many times, and from there, the Atlantis Leviathans, with a late game team and an early game lead, tend to just win out in situations like that.
So now it comes down to the Jade Dragons to figure out what their answer is going to be to the Atlantis Leviathans. Do you maybe draft a bit more early pressure to try and fight them? Do you try and maybe get a couple of different globals or maybe a couple more globals on your team to try and get that pressure across there? Or do we see another complete swap up here of the Jade Dragons and their playstyle? Feels like the Leviathans have freedom to do just about whatever they want. The Dragons are going to play kind of as passively as they did during that game. So, going to the picks and bans now for game 2 between the Dragons and Leviathans. With Dragons on first pick, means they have option to really kind of setting the stage as to what they feel their priority is. Every time we come to the first pick and we see what that first selection is, it's always that question mark is, what do you put the most priority in with what's left open? For last game, Leviathans, it was the Chernobog, which served them very well. I wonder what that is for the Jade Dragons.
If Chernobog makes its way through, should be that, right? Let's just go ahead and get ahead of it. If Chernobog is available on first pick, I don't think there's any team in the league that's going to go ahead and just let it ride. Leviathans clearly seem to agree, won't give the Jade Dragons that option. So, going back to the previous set we had seen from the Jade Dragons, if Athena was left available, they were first picking that pretty consistently. Could look towards that going forward. Flexibility into both jungle and mid and support, but with the Jade Dragons feels like it's just jungle and mid. So, as of now, still available. Still certainly susceptible to what we were just talking about, though. If it goes into the mid lane, very easy to just put your pressure there and make it very difficult for the Athena to get involved in the side lanes or even farm up safely. So, we'll see. Teams have been really struggling to find an answer to the Athena mid, though. Maybe the answer just has to reside in those bans. The Atlantis Leviathans' choice now on whether or not that's what they want to put their eyes on. The Jade Dragons restrict the mid god pool pretty significantly with their bans already. Raijin and the Morgan, of course, not only good into the Atlantis Leviathans, but also the Jade Dragons have generally erred towards those picks as well. I mean, there is so much priority still available. It's a little bit more difficult for the Jade Dragons to choose what they want. The Leviathans, it was cut and dry. Chernobog's up, grab it. Jade Dragons say Amaterasu's the new hotness.
Now, Ama was the first selections, at least in our either number 1 or that number 2 spot, all throughout the first set of the day.
Glory to Athens.
Seeing it first picked here, maybe no surprise. What is a little surprising is seeing Athena drafted from the Atlantis Leviathans more than anything. Kind of makes me wonder where this one might land out. Final K has some options to maybe flex this one there. Rung Yu over in the support. Don't really feel like this is the adapting guy. When we looked at that jungle pool, Athena was not in that one for adapting, at least as far as this year is concerned. It doesn't really feel like it fits the adapting playstyle either, so at least for maybe what my money's worth on, seems the dual lane of the Leviathans have been drafted up.
Yeah, the days of adapting first in, last out are long beyond us, J-Mag. Now he's much more solidly in line with the jungler handbook, which is, hey, Capri Ultimate's down. They use their AoEs. Okay, I'll start to get involved now. And so Athena jungle, I think, maybe not exactly solidly within his wheelhouse, but still certainly, as you said, could go into the soul lane, could go into support. For the most part, I think the Leviathans take this to deny it for the Jade Dragons, realizing had it not been picked in this slot, the Jade Dragons are guaranteed to select it in next 2. And so the Leviathans would rather restrict that, take it for themselves. Maybe toss Athena into support. It's a standard initiator support. Just dash forward, taunt, rinse, repeat in the late game until eventually someone falls down. Just gotta hope you have the damage output behind you to do it. And Olaran brings a good deal of it. This is a scary composition immediately, though, from the Jade Dragons. I've heard from Nika in particular, watching his streams. He's a huge fan of what Amaterasu is capable of, not a fan of playing it, doesn't exactly like the play style itself, but realizes that there is value that she brings to a team that is hard to match. Having that additional power or movement speed or a guaranteed initiator every single time can really simplify how you need to approach some of those late game team fights. And simplifying your game is exactly what Freya and Marty have done as well. Get to late game, people are going to get shredded. The only issue I can see with the Jade Dragons top 3 is that they are going to struggle mightily around actual structures. Neutral objectives, for the most part, should go relatively easily. Marty's not the best ADC at it, but Freya's got so much damage in her kit that it's not exactly going to matter, so Fire Giant, Gold Fury, pretty easy to burn out. Knocking down a tower, though, both Marty and Freya, kind of stinkers. Probably worst in class in both Hunter and Mage at knocking down those structures, so a bit of struggle there, and the Jade Dragons have historically struggled on those sieges.
Looks very similar to what the Leviathans drafted, at least in game number 1. At least what the Jade Dragons have done for themselves. It was, what, Ama, Olaran, Chernobog. We still keep the Ama, but swap out the ADCs around it with that Freya and Marty. Hades is what we can call a very simplified solo lane, at least for the Leviathans. Been seeing this from SOT so far today, and we'll have to see what FineOK does with a pick like this, which has kind of just been the rise up for the solo lane. I don't know if this is the answer to Amaterasu. You don't want to lose pressure, so you draft the Hades so you just don't have a losing lane matchup. Or maybe do you think that it's just Hades is good, Hades is back, just have a fun time over in solo?
Hades is back.
Hades
I think we're in a solid Hades is back world right now. Good damage output, itemization favors him. You can slot Polynomicon, which means he's actually going to have pretty decent damage come late game. There's not a single laning phase that Hades is like scared of. There's not a single god you're drafting into Hades. He's like, oh man, I guess I'm going to have a really poor first 15 minutes of the game. You get level rank 2, I should say, of Devour Souls, the third ability. And all of a sudden you're resustaining any damage you take. No matter what, you're going to very easily clear out those waves and also be a very strong initiator for your team. I actually do like as well the synergy between Athena and Hades. We won't see it too often because the Jade Dragon's composition is largely very mobile, or at least has really good answers to Pillars of Agony, but pull everyone in towards you while you're already getting the additional defenses of Pillars of Agony on top of Defender of Olympus, and then having that additional damage dunked down could be very scary. I mean, there's a world where we see like a completely game-changing play, right? Pulls in 2 or 3 people, and then Athena comes in with the Goomba Stomp, but I'm not exactly certain we're going to see it. Freya, Marty with the self-banishes, Amma has a dash, Atlas can deal with it pretty well, and Serket being one of the most mobile gods in Smite, it's not going to be an easy combo to line up. Force out some mobility, though. One guy is going to really feel that pressure.
Yeah, speaking from a personal experience of a game I just recently had against an Athena Hades, if you get stuck in that Hades, you are probably just dead with that dunk down.
And the answer is usually turn and burn. Good luck doing that to a Hades ulting with Athena ult on you.
Yeah, let me tell you, I as a Hera did not have that turn and burn. It was, I'm stuck here. Oh, well, I guess that's my life bar at this point. Maybe for the Jade Dragons a bit easier, as you mentioned, with all the extra mobility for their side. See how we get out of here. The Leviathans will round out their draft with Camazot's Thor. So, I guess we get to play the next real fun game, Myth, of where in the world do some of these picks go? I think it's maybe safe to say Ola run Athena as a duo.
What if, and hear me out here.
Okay.
Camazot solo, Thor support, Athena jungle, Hades mid, Ola run ADC?
That'd be...
I mean, that's spicy. There's a lot of ways this could go.
Spicy.
I mean, Athena support, I think, is probably the most clear answer, but do you want a Hades mid? Do you want to have Camazot solo? Or is it Thor solo, Kama jungle? What's going on there? I mean, it's a really, really strange composition. But it is interesting to say that a team that does not have like a standard ADC is also going to have a much easier time sieging when you compare it to what the Jade Dragons have got, right? So it is maybe not standard top to bottom, but as far as how it's going to play in the 5-on-5, I mean, I'd argue it's a pretty standard composition. It's just about that laning phase and where things land.
I'm going to take my guess. I'm going to say Thor for adapting. That just feels right.
That feels right.
I'm going to say Hades solo and Camazot's mid.
Okay.
And then keep the other part as the dual lane.
I don't hate that.
I think that's where I'm going to put my lock in, though I'm open to always being wrong in a case like this. Pros sometimes like to flex things around, try a couple things, especially you're a game up now at a best of 5, and I think that's something that was talked about on the Travelers Proc, was when you get to game 5, by the way, shout out to Travelers Proc podcast, Mike and Aurora's podcast there. They talk about whenever in game 5s, you're open to being a little bit more flexible. You can kind of try more things out. We're in like a best of 3 set. You're kind of limited. You say, okay, well, we got to get this one, and we just got to get that second. But now you have that extra kind of game to play around, try a few new things, and experiment. So maybe Leviathan's taking a little bit of that into their own one here. We'll kind of have to see where things end up lining out. So compositionally, at least as far as we get past the laning phase, we get to the team fights, where do the strengths lie for these teams?
I think the Jade Dragon's strength primarily lands in PvP. Anytime you've got Marty and Freya on your team, feels like you're just really good at shredding front lines. So there's going to be a lot of potential there. Throughout the early game, you'll have to keep your eyes on Serket. She controls the pace of game better than just about any other jungler. It feels like if she gets a kill in the early, she's just going to continue to get more. So there's that going for them. Early game could be a weakness of the Leviathans, though.
We'll see if that early game weakness does pan through, or can the Jade Dragons tie the set up. Let's jump into game 2 with Frog and Trelly.
Game number 2 here, Trelly. And we talked about the Dragons need to adapt and try and switch things up from game number 1. Leviathans have chosen to adapt as well. I don't know necessarily what they adapted into, because this is quite the composition that they've rounded out. I think the biggest, I actually thought it was going to be much more exciting, all of the roles that we're swapping around. I thought we were going to see Athena in mid, and we were going to talk about how Dardes used to play that. But no, it's Camazotz mid instead for Shinto.
I wouldn't say they've adapted. I would say they're in the process of that. If only there was like a word I could use to say like you're in the process.
It's on the tip of my tongue, man.
The slow zoom from Doug.
I can't think of anything.
Well,
I mean,
if you
nothing
do,
comes to my
if
mind.
you do think of what the process of whatever the
like adaptation, but
something
like
like
a
that.
different,
Yes.
like a verb tense.
Yeah, if you could think of that word, please tweet it at us because we don't have big brains.
I'm looking to learn.
And we are looking to learn. And with that being said, Shinto on the Camazotz mid. You got plenty of magical damage, right? You got Panda Cat on the Oleron once again, and of course Final K on the Hades. Myth believes Hades is back. I tend to agree. And I'm going to go for another hot take, and hopefully Dardes proves me wrong. I think Marty is gone, personally. I think this god is overhyped at this point. The fact that he keeps getting picked this highly is a bit strange to me. He got absolutely gutted with some of these nerfs, and since then has not been that highly prioritized. But some people are still going to him. I just don't think he still provides as much as some other mid laners can. But he still does have some decent damage, some decent shred. When you have a lot of physical damage on your team, Marty is always going to be a decent look. So let's see how Dardes pilots it. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, and I'm excited for that opportunity because I would like to see a world where this Marty pick can still be picked highly with things like, Pele and Chernobog still being at the top of the meta.
Is it too much to ask for both Marty and Hades to be gone? Speaking for my rankings, we'll see how those drafts round out. But both these characters right in this game, and I think notably seen previously in the day, I think we've seen Hades versus Amaterasu 3 times today, maybe just 2 times, but definitely saw it in our first set of the day, and no surprise that it comes back here. These two characters, I think, bring slightly different things in a team fight, but both are going to have that pressure when it comes to those fights to get in there, be one that's starting. And Mifflin, I think, brought a very good point of the combinations that could happen on a fight start. I'm imagining all of these ultimates going off at the same time. Fine OK with a Rongu ultimate coming through and a Sanctified Field. Like, they just have so much they can drop all at once for the Leviathans.
They certainly do. I think that's one of the situations where when beads are down, you can make plays like that, but more often than not, you are trying to get, this ultimate's going to pull the beads. We don't want to chain our CC together as opposed to letting it run its course, and then I'm sure there's going to be some diminishing returns, but at the very least, you're getting the max value you can out of those abilities. Final K starts the beads though, so not too many rotations from this Hades early on, whereas Nika, he could upgrade that teleport, and he could be in duo lane as soon as, I was going to say level 12, but honestly, he could go back and upgrade it right now if he wanted to, right? We've seen some early solo lane rotations be extremely, extremely impactful if used correctly. So I'm going to keep my eyes on Nika's upgraded relic in particular. Probably wants a full magic defense item, that's Shoguns, but after that, could put in that upgrade and try and make that presence known, because Final K, sure, he's got some movement, but he's not going to get to the other side of the map as quickly as Nika can.
Good focus on the solo. That certainly seems to be where the junglers are to start things off. Lasbra finding some pressure right as this blue buff spawns, but has not hit that level 4 spike yet. Will be a slight advantage over towards adapting and Fino if they want to look for the steal, but good CC there will prevent any aggression coming from the Jade Dragons. They'll just grab their own buffs. And speaking of the junglers, this is a question I wanted to ask last game, but we didn't get a chance to. This recipe coming through from Lasbra, he is the only jungler
he's a
that
party
I've
punch
seen
enjoyer for sure.
Go towards this party punch. What are the benefits there between going something like, we've seen Bow across the board. What are the benefits of party punch?
The benefits lie in the fact that you don't have a jungler that abuses cooldowns very well, and I guess Lasbra feels like Zerket doesn't do that, of course. In this case, Thor doesn't have the shortest cooldowns either, but hey, if you get a hammer up a little bit quicker, if you get an extra wall off, that's going to be impactful. Whereas Lasbra feels, hey, I'm going for one shot. You can see he's starting what I assume will be Rage. He wants crit as quickly as possible. He's going to one shot, and Party Punch just enhances that. It's another thing like the Arachne when that was getting picked. No one really cares about getting the webs back on cooldown, right? You just want to do more damage on your all-in. So if you don't value those cooldown resets, might as well just get more burst. Might as well just get some extra damage, and that's what Party Punch provides. And Lasbra is trying to go for that one-shot build. I mean, if this doesn't reveal it, just starting that tier 2 dagger, I don't know what does.
And getting that Rage online early, that's got to be a signifier of how he wants to play these early stages of the game. You got to imagine if you are getting Rage online as your first item, literal first item out of base, you expect to have those stacks online before you ever start the fights, but to do that, he has to get involved in some ganks in the early and the mid game.
Well, I think the real tell is the fact that you look over at the solo lane. You said, who is the tanky solo laner that is going to force, like a, you know, that has a spectral armor and is going to force me into building, not into the crit tree. And then you see a Hades, and you're like, okay, so we got to worry about one tank and then 4 carries? Yeah, I'm thinking crit could be a good look. Lasbra, unfortunately caught out, but does get the ultimate. How far can he get? Where's the wall? There it is. That should be a first blood.
They went to bat for that one, man. Leviathans use everything to take down the jungler, rather, for the Jade Dragons. They'll find first blood onto Lasbra as Nika under a little bit of pressure as well over on this right-hand side, but nothing doing in terms of a kill. They dropped everything. No hesitation on the Athena ultimate to come over, the aggressive rotation from Shinto. Lasbra trying to find a little bit of a farm steal, but gets punished for it.
Yep, it seemed like they dropped a lot, but really it was just the Athena, right? There was a lot of rotations, of course. 3 over just for the kill. It was because of the blink from Lasbra. If that blink doesn't come through, I think that kill comes a lot sooner. And props to Wrong You. I got to give him credit. He has been on point this entire set. Sure, it's only game number 2, but those Kabrakan walls with the Absolution proc shut down pretty much all of Polar Bear Mike's engage last game. The Kabrakan with Absolution turns out just entirely counters everything that Ares wants to do. And now, put him on this Athena, already getting first blood because of that rotation in, and shows that, hey, even if I'm not around, I'm always watching. Defender of Olympus, I can get active whenever I want. And once again, Wrong You, off of a first blood, goes back and upgrades the meditation. Last time it was an early Gold Fury into the upgraded Cloak of the Ascetic. This time it's first blood. Whatever it is, if Wrong You gets some extra gold, he is getting cooldown meditation online immediately.
And it's that shift in the support that I think finds the rotation early, but also that shift in Mike. He goes towards this Atlas, which I think is definitely a comfort pick for him. We've seen him have some success in the Atlas in the past, but also going to be able to impact these fights as the aggressor with not as much reliance like the Ares ult. Like, you have that direct counter in game number 1. I don't know that there is that one item or one play direct counter to what Mike is looking to do now on the Atlas, but might be the counter here if Mike's looking for the engage, because adapting is in the air, and everything is slowed down for Mike, including the dash away. Panda Cat combos with it perfectly, grabs the second kill for the Leviathan.
And that's the issue with this Oleron pick. Plenty of times it is going to be sat on, it's going to be CC immune ults, you're going to have a terrible time, but in the off chance that none of that is available, and right now, not much is. Lasbra's been hanging out on the right side of the map, and Nika can't rotate over. Panda Cat just gets to drop ult on tank and say, hey, if you don't have beads, you will be dying. There's nothing you can do about it. You are as slow as can be. Unfortunately, that's going to keep happening. You got to watch your positioning. And Dardes knows his damage well, knows he doesn't have to beads that. He recognized, hey, there's going to be a lot of DPS coming, but not enough where I actually have to beads. So this gets plenty of DPS his way, but remains alive for the time being. And that's from the taunt from Wrong You, right? That's the setup that's going to keep happening. You have such an easy engage just by walking up and pressing 2. And I'm assuming Wrong You wants to continue that. Once the beads are down, guess what? Now Adapting's got a target.
Yeah, that poke is so criminal, right? You just walk up, he's just pressing 2 off of cooldown and forcing everybody out. I thought there was going to be a fight to break out there, but it's just constant poke from the Leviathans. Now the fight might be breaking out over on this right-hand side. Adapting and Shinto waiting in the wings, but they've recognized it and rotated back. Here comes the Athena ult. Defender of Olympus channeled in, and Nika can't get away. Shinto grabs the Soul Laner. These small picks across the board, a 3,000 gold lead already for the Levi's.
Yeah, you could tell Nika did not want to get caught into that Pillar of Agony, but did not really have a choice. Went in, actually did confirm his own blue buff, but at what cost? You lose your life and a beautiful rotation in from the rest of the Leviathans. And it wasn't like the Jade Dragons weren't there, right? And you have to make a decision. If I'm the Jade Dragons, I'm going for Gold Fury there. You know that blue buff's getting invaded. You know that Nika is not going to be able to survive if you go for it. drop the Atlas ult, drop all your DPS, at least go for something, because rotating in to watch the blue buff go down and watch your solo laner die is getting you 0 gold, right? You're just getting even more behind. The Jade Dragons are making that play, but Rongyu's close by. He could have a taunt, and here comes PandaCat as well. It's a 50-50 at best.
They're committing to it, though. The ultimate drop from Mike and a taunt in. Everything dropped, though, the damage. The Jade Dragons grab the Gold Fury, but at what cost? 3 to fall here if they can find Vote, and at the end of the ultimate, surely they'll have the damage for it, and PandaCat comes through with the triple, and it might be 4 on the board if they are able to find Dardes. He's under the tier 1 tower, but not safe enough. Leviathans lose the Gold Fury, but gain 4 in return.
And that's what I'm talking about. Nika's got the opportunity to try and find a pickup kill here. Doesn't even see the low health Shinta, or doesn't think a kill is possible. And with the current build, I tend to agree. Nika does not have much damage online. Just takes way too long to make that call, though. I think the Jade Dragons had an opportunity when 3 go over to the blue buff. But afterwards, they had to commit so much. Mike gets so low just tanking up that Gold Fury that, once again, Sanctified Field comes through. Lasbra and Mike don't have beats to their name. They're going to get slowed down. And yeah, you get the Gold Fury, but at what cost? You lose so much in the process. All of that before the beacon has even spawned in, Frog. We're 10 minutes into this game, and the Fury's down. 7 kills, so many levels. We got tier 2 relics coming for 2 members of the Leviathans. This is just, well, I'm not going to say a clinic just yet, but it's starting to become one.
Yeah, this is a little bit rough for the Jade Dragons thus far. I think, though, still feeling good in terms of pressure on map, right? Mike is walking up. I think he still feels comfortable with this Atlas pickup. He was the one that made that Gold Fury call, and despite the lack of success on that Gold Fury call, you can see, I think, almost to complement the lack of hesitation, right? Like,
right.
They are getting in there, they are being decisive, and hopefully learning from the decisions.
Right. I think that most people would agree it is better to group up and commit to a bad call than to, split up and just, haphazardly do a good call, right?
Sure.
If you don't have the full team in on it, and that's what happened. At the very least, the team committed, they got the Fury. 3 ended up dying, and then the 4th underneath the tower, but they got the Fury. So that was the original call. Now the Jade Dragons have a new play to make. Are we playing defensively? Are our aggressive calls done? Or are we going to use this Cirquette to try and find some picks, try to find some 1v1s in the jungle? Because that's your best option at this point. Cirquette is a single target jungler. She is not playing for team fights. You are trying to find 1v1s, isolated 1v1s in the jungle. If I'm Lasbra, I think the best look is to just hide around camps, wait until adapting hammers, and just go in for that 1v1. Not easy, especially when the beads are up, as long as a hammer or an Anvil of Dawn is available. You can't find 1v1 unless you get some great crit RNG. Or just ult on Anika if you're
Adapting finds, and the body block traps him in for a couple more seconds, but will get the slowdown and leaves the
he
camp
got that pop.
on
Oh, man.
6 HP. Unfortunate there for Nika, but you do at least trade the ultimate now, so adapting won't have that tool to use coming up on this beacon. But another fight starts on the left-hand side, and PBM, the same story, gets caught in the Ola Run ultimate, and PandaCat is on a rampage. 5-0 for this Ola Run. We thought he got off to a good start in game number 1. Talk about game number 2, 5-0 to start. He's feeling good.
And yeah, you can give the credit to PandaCat, and you should. He's playing well, but it's wrong you with the taunt every single time. It sets up for the ultimate. Imagine how much damage you can get off during the entire channeling of that taunt. Rongyu been a part of every single kill. 1-0-7. PandaCat's 5-0. He's been a part of 5. Adapting's 0-0-5. He's been a part of 5. Rongyu has been the cause for every single kill on this map, and he's not stopping anytime soon. He's already on the beacon before it's even spawned in.
Leviathans have the positioning here. They're already halfway contested on this, but PBM and Dardes look to be the ones to try and stop them if they want to. So step ups, but Rongyu with the taunt again! And Mike is completely collapsed on, at least able to get away with the ultimate is Dardes. But the single-digit HP there for PBM, and adapting not in time with the ultimate. They will force them out, at least with low health bars, but not able to pick one up, will only be able to secure the beacon.
And see, I love that call from Wrong You. This isn't an item you go to early on if you're not just trying to kill off of taunt. Stone of Binding immediately says, hey, you know what? I've noticed that when I taunt, we seem to have success. Why not make some more damage after I hit that taunt? Why not set up for my team even more so? This Athena has shown that he's going to be an absolute menace as this game continues. Primal Fury is spawning in shortly. Back, get some ward coverage and get ready, because I'm assuming we're going to see a fight, or at the very least an instant pull from the Leviathans. They have that timer down and they are making a beeline for that objective. But this is what I'm talking about. Look at Nika rotating out of lane. He's going right towards the Pyromancer. He's not sitting around. He's got teleport available if he needs it. This objective at the very least should go down for free to the Jade Dragons.
Nobody in range for the Leviathans. They'll grab the Pyromancer and they'll pick up the Runic Bomb, put it in the pocket of Lasbra this time, right as the Gold Fury spawns. So nobody's going to be able to trade. This is just going to be a straight-up Gold Fury fight. If the Jade Dragons want to take it at all, we get a double back there in the mid lane, sends 2 people back to base, and Leviathans are in position for this. Primal Fury is going to fall fast, down to half HP already, and nobody is in range. Looks like the Dragons are satisfied with their Pyromancer. They won't step up. They'll trade away the Gold Fury.
And I think that's the correct call. The Jade Dragons made a good play, immediately going in for that Pyro. They grab it for free, but Final K dashing in. I was going to say Lazarus close by. Mike is also nearby. This Hades is certainly killable, right? Full damage to Bancroft's Claw. If you're relying totally on healing to get out of trouble, you may be in some, and that's the call, right? 3-man grouping. Look at them. They're waiting to see if Final K will make a misplay. But so far, he hasn't dashed, and it looks like, yeah, Mike and Lasbra are going to have to walk away here, despite after sitting there for so long, just seeing if they could find a kill onto this Hades. But look at the differential between PandaCat and Dardas, as just shown. Dardas is stuck underneath his own tower, or sorry, Vote rather. He's stuck underneath his own tower. It's a 2-level differential. The Freya cannot step up because PandaCat just gets the better end of those trades every single time. A full ring, essentially, over Vote. He's got Demonic and Hasten, and another taunt to Dardas means he's going to lose half his health.
Thank goodness, he might lose more than half his health. He gets eaten alive, and Rongu grabs the last hit onto that one again. Lasbra has to expend all the movement and the blink just to get away from the threat, and immediately they turn around and find another member. The tier 1 tower now falls, and the grouping from the Leviathans is 5 strong here in the mid lane. They've got a couple minions, and I don't think they're going to waste any time. The teleport coming through from Nika, but they're looking for the kills instead. Vote forced into the ultimate, and Nika making some space in the front line prevents the tower from falling. Lasper looking for a window in on the backside of the fight, but they're just outnumbered, and they've got another minion wave coming. They have to give up this structure.
Yep, tier 2 drops, and that's all from one taunt underneath the tier 1 that was able to pick off Dardas. I said half his health because Beam, Aegis, and Ult were available, but that's the benefit of being able to see the above perspective. Dardas had no idea adapting was nearby. He had no idea a wall double tap was in his future. He thought he'd just be able to ult afterwards, and that CC just came in at the exact right moment. And Dardas ends up dying with all of his safety available to him. And once the tier 1 goes down, why not group up and push down the tier 2? Who's going to stop you? The Jade Dragons. I was going to say I've had very little answers. They've had 0 answers. They are 0-9 currently. They've got a Runic Bomb. They were able to get a Gold Fury. But that gold is still not looking any better.
This lead is staggering, perhaps, for the Leviathans. Less than 17 minutes in, almost 7,000 gold. They're going to use it for what it is, picking up the Fire Giant here. And the Dragons have no idea. They don't have wards in this area. They don't think who would pick up a 17-minute Fire Giant. Well, the Levi's would. They would take it right out from under your nose, and that's exactly what they're going to do. A 17-minute Fire Giant for free from the Leviathans.
Yeah, my guess is the Jade Dragons didn't expect it at first, but once you see the positioning, you see Mike soloing a purple buff, Vote's going in for tier 1 tower, they're like, hey, there's no objectives on the map but FG, and we're just freely pushing up left lane. I'm going to assume the rest of the team is over on the right side of the map. Lasbra's proxying waves, trying to stop the Phoenix from going down, adapting. He's getting flanked on, but he's got a hammer. Now, Lasbra's got to get back quickly because right side Phoenix is the target of Leviathans. They don't even have a Runic Bomb.
Let's see how they take it. We can do a listen in with the Leviathans as they push the burn. What a clean engage, and you can hear it in the comms from the Leviathans. Everybody on the same target, the constant communication there as they go throughout the team fight. And Wrong, you getting another last hit. It's still, the taunts are killer, man.
I mean, 3-0-9, a part of almost every kill at this point. Unfortunately, missed one in the process, but yes, it has been an absolute menace so far on this Athena. Fine, okay, making sure to hype up his team from the grave. Tells them to get in there, and they do just that. Continuing this aggression, they get the right side bird. They have a runic bomb in tow now for adapting. He can try and help out for the last of these tier 2 towers over on left, as well as the last 2 Phoenixes. Now we have to try and talk about the Jade Dragons, because they were able to pick up kills, right? They're finally on the board. Nika and Lazbra were able to pick those up. We have to talk about their defense. They can lean on Vote a bit. This Freya, besides, you know, she's very far behind, of course. Vote does not survive for very long. But in a miracle situation where he's just able to uncontested auto attack someone, Freya does do damage with 3 rings. That is certainly capable. So I've got my eyes on Vote. Maybe some CC can help him get some damage off. Maybe, I mean, the Valkyrie's Discretion is doing nothing. That ult is absolutely useless. It's just a get out of jail free card, and it's not even out of jail because it's not going to take you too far back to your base. But those auto attacks I got my eyes on, as well as Lazbra got 2 stacks on Rage, man. Some extra crit chance. Maybe that could help out. He finally got some stacks on that item. Love to see if the Jade Dragons have anything left in the tank to try and defend these birds.
Just 60 seconds remaining on this Fire Giant power play. That's 2 waves they can use to push down here if they want to. But
they're so scared.
They'll choose the disciplined play. They'll back off. They'll wait for the next Fire Giant spawn. They'll be satisfied with the right bird falling. And it's so early in the game, Trelly. That was a 17-minute Fire Giant. We're not even talking about EFG yet. There's still 2 Fire Giants that could happen before EFG. And so if I'm the Jade Dragons and I'm thinking about, do I want to step up to this? Is this a fight I want to take? I think I might be satisfied with the defense, but then I think about the fight that we just saw.
Right.
I mean, what is this decision-making process?
Well, I want to pick your brain real quick. First and foremost, Leviathans are pushing forward. They are trying to get aggressive positioning. They want to try and find a fight if anyone steps up too far. It's all going to be off the back of a dash taunt in from Wrong You. We might have a couple seconds before this engage begins. Or maybe not. Maybe Nika just walks into the range of a Thor wall, and that's going to be the engage. Either way, we've seen how quickly PBM dies off a taunt. We have seen how quickly this Atlas falls.
Oh no, the dash in, and we'll see it one more time. Polar Bear Mike taken down and adapting into the air for the fight ensuing. Vote forced to use the Aegis, and both carries into the air for safety, but I'm not sure it can last much longer. They're both trying to make their way back to the base. They have the safety, but Leviathans have safety in numbers. It's a 5v4 as they continue to push down this mid lane Phoenix. No wave with them, and Fire Giant has fallen off. This is a little bit risky, but they are going to try to push. Look for Lazbra in the backside. He was trying to find a window in, but gets caught out by Shinto, and everybody has to retreat. But the blink was perfect from Fine OK, and they grab another pick. Lazbra gets punished for even trying, and it's right as the Fire Giant
And that's such a beautiful play, because if Fine OK just blinks in, look at the relics from Lazbra. Lazbra blinks in and says, I don't care, nerd, I'm out. But what he does is he channels the auto attack, blinks in, puts him in combat immediately, and then goes in for the kill. Lazbra tries to blink, ends up auto attacking in place, and gets shut down. Fire Giant is going to come down for absolute free here. There's nothing the Jade Dragons can do except send an ultimate from Mike in. It doesn't seem like that's something he wants to do. So I can bring back to my previous point. We've seen how quickly Mike can die off a taunt. We've seen how many taunts Mike has eaten so far this game.
Several times.
So what does he do? Instead of pick up a bead, instead of building a tank stats, he just doubles down. He goes from the Divine Rune into the Staff of Mirrodin. He's just going for damage. He goes in for blink, damage Atlas. And I think there's 2 thought processes here. Number 1, hey, we have 0 kills so far this game when he started building into that item. And we need more DPS, clearly, because we don't have Vote, who's not going to help out. So maybe I just need more damage for the team. Or B, I'm going to be dying anyways. I might as well get my damage off. And I think that is the call he's going for, right? At this point, no matter what item Mike builds, he is too far behind to live Panda Cat's damage. If he gets taunt into a Sanctified Field, this Atlas is melting regardless. So he's like, hey, I just want my ult to slap. That's it. That's the only play I can make. Not sure if it's the correct play, but that is what Mike has decided to do, and that's the reason Wrong You is 3-0-10 and is going to continue taunting this Atlas. It's the easiest pick you can get, and it's not going to stop as long as Panda Cat's there with his ult.
The Dragons have to find something off of that, though. If they know that the taunt is coming, where does the reaction come in from the other members of the Dragons to try and take advantage of it?
I mean, you can try and just pre-ult. That's what I would do if I was Lasper. I'd group up. The second Wrong You taunts in, I would ult him and throw him towards my team. The issue is, he's just going to get another taunt off once you do so, but that's the only play you can make, really. He's got no beads, so try and CC the Athena. The issue, of course, is that Wrong You is built incredibly tanky as opposed to that of PBM, so it's not going to find the freest pick ever. Bit of a 2-1-2 split. Final K does have the Polynomicon. This right bird will eventually go down thanks to those shots. All the while, the engage starts on the left side.
Where Mike gets taunted back in, but this time the rest of the team is not there to follow up. He'll only go down to half HP because of this 2-1-2 split. Everybody focusing on their individual matchups here as Final K slowly poking down this right-hand bird with that Polynomicon. It's a question of where the engage is going to come through. Shinto maybe heading over to that left-hand side. They've got a minion wave and then get a quick taunt in there onto Vote. But the right-hand side, the fight breaks out. It's a 2v2, and Final K and Adapting have gotten the bird, and he is not slowed down. He's in by his lonesome, and he'll look to take down Zardes. A good Aegis is not enough, and Final K finds the mid laners. Adapting trades on Tanika as well. A 2-for-1, and the left bird goes down as well. J Dragons are under so much pressure, and Lasbra finds the answer back. A 2-for-2, but they get all 3 birds.
I was going to say that's big for the J Dragons unless you look at all the Phoenixes that just went down. Losing, I mean, I would say you could lose 4 there, and the Leviathans would be fine with getting the 3 Phoenixes because you don't have the wave clears alive. It's not like everyone can just run out and chase down these kills. They have to try and clear out the waves. That was a close scrap, man. Lasbra actually goes huge. That Bloodforge proc, I don't think saved his life. I'm pretty sure he had it regardless, but finds the kill, is able to shut down Adapting, which certainly helps out. We've been talking about rage stacks. There is an opportunity for Lasbra to find 100-0 in the jungle if he gets full build, right? That is where Serket really does succeed. Hiding in the jungle for someone without beads, taunt into Deathbane into auto attack. Sometimes that's enough. If you get enough crits, that can 100-0 someone. Now it's a 4v5, and your team fight's looking a lot stronger. And Lasper's going to go do just that. I guarantee you he tries to find someone to blow up because guess what? There's 3 Phoenixes down. This is like a 99 1%er here for the Leviathans. There are still teams that have thrown from this position, but it is very difficult to come back from this position.
In a normal game, I would be like almost upset with my jungler for not having rage stacked at 26 minutes into the game. But Lasbra has been a part of 75% of all of the kills that the J Dragons have gotten. Even if he was a part of 100%, he could not physically have rage stacked at this point, and it just feels like worse after worse, bad after bad for the J Dragons, as it's PBM who once again finds a little bit of the focus, and it's right as this Fire Giant spawns. Now, once again, no EFG quite yet, still pre-30 minutes into this game, but I think we're looking at the same script again. They're going to grab the Fire Giant. It'll probably be for free, and this time they'll look for a siege with all 3 Phoenixes down.
I do love that attempt, though. You could see Lasbra was just searching for Adapting. He said, hey, last time I fought him, that man beats. Those beats are down for 40 seconds. If I catch him sleeping at a speed bump, that's an easy 1v1. If I'm able to hit him with the taunt. Doesn't find it, and now Fire Giant started up. Where are the J Dragons? Close, but not quite showing themselves. It's just Nika in mid lane, Lasbra, of course, on the left side of the map, and no one else even nearby to go for the steal attempt. So Leviathans will be able to grab this one. They have time to push up with their Titan in mid lane is going to be the call. All the while, Vote is just lurking in the grass. I don't think he wants to show his face here. I'm guessing he wants to run away the second the team shows up. But it's Titan defense time, right? The Leviathans, the second they burn through this Chaos Titan, they can look to kill the actual Titan. And that is the only thing they can go for. All the while, though, keep your eye on Lasbra. There is a Serket behind. Nika as well. The Leviathans are onto this, though. They know someone is behind them. They don't know how many.
Got the Phoenixes down. The blink in, though, from Wrong. You will get the beads out of Vote and force the ultimate as well. But that's the fight on the back end. Starts in its own right. A 1v1. Lasper looking for Shinto. Gets turned around, though, when the jungler gets forced out. And PBM gets taken down again. This time it's a 1-for-1 trade, but the Leviathans still looking to hold 4 strong and pushing in with their Titan. They've got some fire minions as well, and it's a straight 4v4 if they want to take it, but they're hesitating.
They are hesitating. The Jade Dragons, the Phoenix are spawning in. If they want to go in, they have to go in now. And Dardes actually steps forward. It looks like the Phoenixes are just the call here, though. But look how weak the Titan's getting already. Half health, and the Leviathans haven't even done damage yet.
They're still waiting for the opportunity, and Wrongu has the taunt available. You know that he's waiting for the Royal member to step up, but they're in finally, and Nika immediately answers with a dash. Low health bar.
Big
They're
damage.
looking to turn around. Nika takes down Shinto, and PandaCat falls for a second. They stick around for too long, and the hesitation costs them. They fall 2 down, and they're able to keep their Phoenixes alive. Left spawns, middle spawns. Right one gets taken down, and Lasbra loses his life, but the Jade Dragons live to see another day.
Whoop off the mark, adapting, is going to be able to make it out of this one. And that's the thing. The Jade Dragons knew, hey, all of our Phoenixes spawn at the same time. If we're going to go in, it's right now. And Lasbra finds the perfect taunt. And if you think about it, Wrong, you found the perfect taunt as well. He said, hey, Vote's got no beats, guys. Follow me. He goes in, taunts. Where's the rest of the team? They weren't able to follow up. Nika and Lasper go to the back line, and finally, that rage got stacked up. We saw how much crit damage was able to come through. And unfortunate, Mike thought he was able to stop a lazy back. Use that ultimate. Couldn't catch it. The gamma ray burst will be down. Either way, now there's only 1 Phoenix down. The Titan is relatively weak. Definitely something you have to worry about getting backdoored, but not something that's going to get blown over with a wave of minions very quickly. Leviathans are going to have to go for EFG with only the worst Phoenix on the map down. The Jade Dragons have put themselves in a monumentally better position than they were just in, but still not on even grounds by any means.
Not by any means. I mean, you mentioned 99-1. Maybe it's 95-5. Maybe they've gotten a couple.
I'll give them a 90-10 just because Lasper one shots.
Gotten a couple percentage points back here when it comes to the odds, and I think it really drives off that hesitation. The Leviathan sat there while their Titan was beating down the enemy Titan. They had so much room, but they just stood there under the mid-bird.
Well, I didn't get to highlight this, but Fine OK definitely overcommitted, right? He recognized, he pulled Vote's beads. He was able to get underneath him with the Valkyrie's discretion and said, hey, I am waiting for you to land so I can hit Pillars of Agony. But what he didn't count on was Dardes showing up to peel for his duel and said, hey, I am going to do some extra damage, put you in place. Pillars of Agony then misses, and you lose your Hades, who has been an integral part of this late game burn. This Hades does so much damage if that ultimate connects. It doesn't. Then the carries go back to base, heal up. Sure, PBM dies, but are you trading Fine OK for PBM at this point? No, Mike is dropping his ult, shredding protections, and dying. Like that build is full damage. He has Gauntlet of Thebes and damage. That's his job. Whereas Fine OK, he's set up, he's control, he's so much DPS. His poly shots are some of the reason that Right Phoenix even went down. So I think that was the big issue with that team fight. Now the Leviathans still have that aggressive positioning. They have no ward coverage in the enemy jungle. The Jade Dragons will know if anyone steps up past that speed buff just because of how many blue wards are in the jungle. And there's no EFG to be had, so why would you walk out of base? They're just going to group up and wait.
Still a minute or two until this EFG spawns. And I wonder, like, they're certainly going to be able to push out the right wave. Is this something the Jade Dragons step up to? Is it, you know, they're in about the best position that they've been in maybe 20 minutes.
I would say they have the opportunity to do so, of course. Nika should be able to ult out of this one if he needs to. Has plenty of defense. But Lasper was going for the wrapper, and it looks like, just by their positioning alone, Frog, they do want to step up to this enhanced Fire Giant. You're right. One more wave, maybe 2 of the Fire Waves. And now the Leviathan's got to show how quickly they can DPS this before the Jade Dragon step forward.
They're in the Infinity, though, and Nika's looking for it. We're going to go into a listen in with the Jade Dragons as they try and fight back.
together. Amuse me!
Double kill. Double kill. Killing spree. Double kill.
Oh my goodness, Trelly, what a fight. The Jade Dragons, they fight back and take down 3. They leave 2 alive. They might push this one down and take the Phoenix, but I mean, how did FineOK survive? He was on no health.
I mean, take a look at those builds. Not enough anti-heal. You can tell adapting is going to try and help out get 2 Phoenixes at once, and that seems to be for free. They also have only 1 Runic Bomb. I was going to say 3 Runic Bombs in their pockets, but only 1 actually on the map currently. So birds will certainly be dropping down. But Mike hit. You saw he was at the Fire Giant. He knew there was no ward coverage there. He said, hey, if Oleron walks up, I'm going in. That's exactly what happened. Mike knew he was going to die, but he did as much damage to PandaCat as possible. Ended up baiting out the taunt, and that's what we were talking about, right? You know the taunt's coming. He said, Nika, walk up and get taunted. The second that they changed out, WrongU steps forward. Mike said, wait, I'm not taunted? I'm full damage Atlas, baby. I can go crazy in the back line. Still, not a great position to be in. Because the Jade Dragons have had so little good that we can really weigh in on, it's you know, it's a great moment they're able to fight back, but they lose 2 birds, Enhanced Fire Giant is still up. But look at the relics. That's the big situation. Relic graveyard for both teams. It's going to be whoever can go in. Mike wanted to go for a wraparound, but the wave spotted him out.
Fire Giant is low enough. Nobody's going to make it here. Lasper and Mike are not in range. And the EFG goes over to the Atlantis Leviathans. They were trying to set up for something sneaky, but the time to do it is not there. And now it has to be a base defense. It has to be a last stand here for the Jade Dragons. They managed to pull off almost a miracle last time when the Leviathans hesitated, and these fights have been getting slowly better, just little by little better. And they took out, I think, 2 on the Phoenix Siege. They took out 3 there during the Fire Giant defense. I mean, what are the Jade Dragons doing right? How do they defend this?
They have to try and not die to the initial taunt. That goes without saying. I'm thinking if Mike is sitting there waiting for the taunt, he's going to have to blink the dash. That's his best option. Once that happens, maybe you just DPS. But I think the Leviathans, as long as FineOK doesn't get 0 value with his ultimate, they should be able to walk in with relative ease, man. It's EFG 35 minutes in. 3 K-Pots have been purchased. Titan could be just shredded in a second.
Yeah, they are waiting. It's a patience game here. They have to find the minions to come in first. And
Mike?
they caught PBM. No taunt needed. He's just taken out. He pushes too far forward and adapting into the air. Has found Lasbra, who is looking for a way in and won't find it. Instead will find the focus as he's forced to jump away and forced back to base. All 5 members still here for the Leviathans and no Phoenixes to speak of. They are waiting for minion waves, but they've got to find a way in.
They've got to try and heal up adapting as well. PandaCat can taunt in, but look at this. Nika steps forward. Is he able to find anything? Looks like maybe just the beads, but there's the blink in from FineOK. He's going to pull the beads as well.
Oh, down low, but FineOK can't overcommit, has to dash out, and Nika is now between the enemy team and his own, but the hasten gets popped and the focus is onto the Titan. It's a last stand, and the Jade Dragons have to do it all, and they don't have enough. Leviathans up 2-0.
And that's what I'm talking about, man. EFG 35 minutes in, even in a 5v5 situation, it is not easy to keep that Titan alive. The Leviathans tried the cat and mouse game and said, we have Oleron ult and a frenzy. Let's just step forward, and they do just that. It took them, if I'm honest, way too long to get to that point. I think a clean team is able to wrap that game up 12 minutes ago, I would say.
Yeah.
That's how big of a lead they had. With 3 Phoenixes down, I think a little bit of an overstep, maybe. I'm not going to say a cocky play, but maybe just a little bit of an overstep there ends up delaying this game. But they tighten it up. They say, hey, let's just kill that Titan. Let's not, mess around too much. They find the taunt that WrongU had been providing pretty much all game. I got no complaints about how WrongU played. I think that Athena needs to go, or an answer needs to be found for it. And once that pick comes through, that Titan's going to die no matter what.
I was fascinated by the adaptation. Still looking for that word for adaptation. But
no clue.
Like, Mike goes full damage.
Yep.
Literally thieves into full damage and just wants to be a diver. I don't know if that's how the Jade Dragons want to play. It's an interesting play style if they stick to it. They've got another game to adapt to. We'll throw it to a quick break and be back for game number 3.
Leviathans now within sweep range with a win in game number 2. Puts them up in game point up against the Jade Dragons. You're going to see the Jade Dragons reverse the sweep one out, but Mifflin, this one just felt like it was all Leviathans all day. Sure, there were some bumps in the road a little bit later on. A good fight around Fire Giant kept the Dragons alive a little bit longer, but this one felt like from minute 1, the Atlantis Leviathans had complete dominance over this game.
Yeah, this one's a little bit harder to break down because game 1, I felt like it was very clear how the team fights were going. Every single time it was jump onto the back line, take too much damage for the Jade Dragons. This time around, it felt like, as you said, a much more team-centric effort. But we did get a bit of a call out on how it was going to go down during the pregame interview with PBM and Panda Cat, and they said, look, we can play as good as we want no matter what. Every game's going to come down to a jungle diff. This one feels like a little bit of a jungle diff. 5-1 and 13 for adapting on the Thor, as opposed to the 2-7 for Lazarus on the other side. So just about half the assists, half the kills, and 7 times the deaths for Lazarus. We're going to break it down purely mathematically. The Leviathans just clean across the board, control the early game, will really play well around Panda Cat on this Ola run. Felt like every single Sanctified field was just absolutely dominating. Even this one around the Gold Free finds a ton of value, and the Jade Dragons couldn't quite find their answer. Even with the strong PvP potential of Marty and Freya, dealing with the front line you would think would be one of the strongest facets of a composition with those two. You've got massive shred from Freya, just damage output, and then legitimate defense shred from Marty. Didn't quite line up, though, because when the dive was there for the Leviathans, the backliners were forced to retreat, and the frontliners of the Leviathans had just enough damage on their own to make things happen. The only thing the Jade Dragons had going for them towards the late game was a few maybe questionable siege attempts from the Leviathans where they lose a bit of potential, couldn't quite knock down the Titan. I'm thinking about when their Titan was legitimately fully accosting the Jade Dragons Titan, but even then, stick around a little bit too long, and the Dragons extend the game by about 6 minutes. But at no point did I feel like past the 15-minute mark that the Jade Dragons were legitimately in the game.
And this one really did feel like it was a jungle diff. Also a bit of the dual lane, too. Panda Cat started the game out, I believe, 5-0 before he takes his first death, and that's when they're sieging up the right side of the map. So the entire early game, Panda Cat essentially goes unchecked on the Ola run. And really got to give shouts to Wrong You on the Athena. It was pretty much a clear-cut call from what I've seen to the Leviathans of Wrong You wants to go in. Whoever we're taunting is going to die, whether that be PBM, whether that be Nika, no matter who is under range of that taunt, except for the one time under the Titan, he says, I'm going to go for the taunt on vote. And then his entire team is pushed back because Nika standing there says, I dare you to try and pass me. But really did feel like the dual lane kind of controlled a lot of the fights here for the Atlantis Leviathans. Now put themselves up 2-0 against the Jade Dragons. Also, maybe questionable on Mike going the full damage route. I think it was mentioned in the cast, maybe kind of a mindset of, well, I'm going to die regardless if I get this taunt, so maybe I just want to do as much damage as possible. But triple damage, feels like he could have maybe gotten maybe a spear robe to help out.
Yeah, I mean, I am fully of the mindset that from behind, especially on tank rolls, it feels really bad to buy defense items. It is so difficult to catch up as a defense-minded player. So I think Mike's probably of the idea that, look, I'm going to die. I could buy as much defense as possible. It's not going to help me survive. So instead, I'll buy damage, and I'm going to drop my kit, and I'm going to die. And hopefully I've done enough that my team can do the rest afterward. And I can kind of get that idea. But also looking at the Jade Dragons composition and how it was lined up, they really needed a frontliner to be able to facilitate their double backline carry. The Freya and the Marty have got enough damage on their own so long as someone can stand between the dive of the Leviathans and the Jade Dragons, but they didn't quite have it. I'm not certain that Mike's build really has a whole lot of bearing on the outcome of that game. Maybe things go a little bit differently, but I mean, even by the end of it with his full damage build, he didn't finish his build, so would have been a real struggle for him to survive the onslaught of damage the Leviathans had.
Now we jump into picks and bans for game number 3 between the Leviathans and the Dragons. Leviathans do not want Dardes to have Hera. That's what I've gathered from all 3 of these picks and bans so far, is that if there's one pick and one player combo you do not want, it is Dardes Hera. That one's been consistently taken away by Leviathans alongside this Ganesh as a ban. Opposite side, Jade Dragons take away the Raijin and the Chernobog. As mentioned in the first set, Raijin didn't see any notice. No bans, no picks, nothing like that, but this set has still been seeing some bans, at least from the Jade Dragons.
I mean, it's one of Shinto's best.
Yeah, as mentioned kind of at the top, I think of 2 premier players for the Raijin. Yes, Nika has played over in solo, but I think of Paul and Shinto mostly. In fact, I think that was one of the picks where Shinto was like 25 and something, like 25 and 2 on that kind of a pick in the mid lane whenever that pick was dominating back in Season 8. So maybe no surprise that once that god gets good, probably don't give it to one of the best players to ever do it.
And so the Jade Dragons won't be doing that. Instead, leave a lot of priority picks available to the Leviathans. Leviathans eyes towards the jungle, but has flexibility towards mid. Pele finds her home in both jungle and mid. Out of mid lane, it's about hyper pressure, controlling those mid camps, getting a lot of the neutral farm, out rotating, playing around those side lanes. There is potential to solo out your lane opponent, but not exactly as easy for Pele to do it as opposed to something like a set or something along those lines. So instead, imagine we see a good deal of rotations from this Pele, assuming
Athena.
it's out of the mid lane. Could still go jungle, could go soul lane, has a lot of flexibility. The Jade Dragons, though, finally, given their opportunity, have snap locked the Athena, something that I think they've been fishing for this entire set. Now with their backs against the wall, have that opportunity. We'll see where it lands. I believe in the last 3 lock-ins, all 3 have gone towards mid. Dardes has really been favoring this pick, loves the scaling to late game. Dardes, a self-reported initiator and playmaker. Athena fits that style very, very well. The only concern, and it's a concern that I keep bringing up on the desk, J-Mac, and I feel like I'm going crazy every time it gets locked in mid, is if you camp Athena, she doesn't really have great answers. She has to play right in the melee range on wave, essentially between the archers and melee minions of the enemy lane, if you want to use the shield wall. If you're dashing on wave, you don't have dash anymore, right? So it is very difficult for Athena to safely farm the center of the map. Why not camp her? Nobody's done it just yet. Maybe there's something I'm not realizing, but I feel like that's just got to be a direct answer.
Yeah, if we're looking at least Athena play from the last event, is exclusively for Dardes, and then it went a little bit of solo, a little bit of support otherwise. So as far as recency, this Athena has gone to Dardes. We'll see if that sticks true. If that goes to Lasbra, goes over to solo, goes over to support. Four roles that this god can be flexed into here for the Jade Dragons roster. For the Leviathans, will make the guessing game a little easy, at least as far as the front line is concerned. Ares and Hades now locked in. Hades for Final K one more time. Wrong you making the pivot away from the Athena that got picked away, and now going over to Ares, who did receive quite a few buffs going into the Season of Celebration. And I thought maybe we were going to see a lot more Ares kind of pop up, but didn't see quite as much. We'll be seeing him back here today. One guy that did not do a whole lot of winning during kickoff, though, Sun Wukong, now drafted for the Dragons.
Yeah, but we have seen Sun Wukong with like the new Gauntlet of Thebes, like full tank build, feel nearly unkillable come late game. We know that if he goes Bluestone, his poke potential is still incredibly high. Sun Wukong has always been the god of, I will never get soloed in lane. I just got so many defensive utilities that it is nearly impossible for him to like solidly lose a lane phase. So solid there, decent scaling into the late game, really good at disrupting hyper carries, things like ADCs or more immobile mages, and that's generally what we're going to see Sun Wukong locked in for. I am concerned a bit, though, by the potential of this Ares to simply dog walk the Jade Dragons. Like, connect chain on 3 members, 72 transformations completely locked out, preemptive strike locked out, Jingwei is not allowed to dash. The cripple from Ares chain finds a lot of value here, and can also force some utility that you really don't want to have forced out. Athena ult in particular, just being forced into going to the Defender of Olympus in response to no escape feels really, really bad, especially if it's a team fight in the center of the map, right? If you're forced to retreat to a side lane, completely vacating an engagement could make it difficult for the Jade Dragons to essentially re-rally or fall back and then start their fight once more. The Atlantis Leviathans have got themselves a very aggressive composition already.
Now for the Dragons and for the Leviathans, finished out their second half of bans. Ratatoskr and Set for the Levi's. Dragons take away Thor and Izanami. And now maybe, never mind, don't really give us a clear-cut answer as to what's going where. Artemis Jingwei for the Dragons. Now, we've seen Jingwei a couple of times flex over towards the mid-roll. Haven't really seen Artemis too often outside of the duo lane, so still a couple of question marks, at least for me, on where these hunters lock in.
So in the kickoff event, we saw the advent of the 2 clear playstyles of Artemis. Standard auto attacker Artemis, things we've seen for nearly a decade now, or over a decade, I should say. And then the new age ability focused Artemis build that really leverages the the new CDR options that are available in Season 10, how easy it is to get to that 40% CDR mark, Bluestone, Transcendence. If you're lucky, you get the blue mask on your camp as well, giving you over a little bit more. And if that's the case, if you're going that ability style, I wouldn't mind too much seeing an Artemis in mid. Having suppressed the insolent on essentially like a 6-second cooldown at level 6 feels really, really good, especially against gods that need to get point blank on wave. And looking at this composition from the Leviathans, I think it is pretty likely that we're looking at a Pele mid for them. There is equal opportunity for Artemis and Pele to solo each other, but Artemis could be non-committal in her damage. Throw out, suppress the insolent, hit the archers, hit the melees, whatever, but also connect with Pele, and since it's so frequent, could make it really difficult to farm up safely in lane. Might even, if it is Artemis mid, restrict Pele into going towards Soul Eater just so she can deal with some of that poke.
Well, I think this might
I don't know anymore.
mix things up a little bit. Aphrodite for the Jade Dragons. Okay.
I straight up don't know anymore.
Okay. I'm gonna take a stab at it once more. Jingwei's going to vote. I'm gonna lock Jingwei for vote.
Okay.
I'm gonna put this Aphrodite, as much as I don't want
I
to,
think it's
strictly
mid, right?
strictly for win rate. Well, Lasbra's
you put it in support?
Lasbra's the only dragon who has won with an Aphrodite, and that was in
Huh?
Roll Stars.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're not getting
We're not
gonna
get it Afro Jungle.
Don't meme me.
But I'm gonna say Afro to support the Artemis mid, Athena jungle, Wukong solo. I think that's where I'm hitting my red button, my metaphorical, figurative red button next to me to lock in.
What if it's Athena mid? Because we know Dardes loves that pick. Dardes also loves the Aphrodite.
He
in
does
mid.
like the Aphrodite.
All right, pull back the curtain, J-Mac. I see you. Production's got our back. What are we looking at?
I was right.
Oh.
It is going to be the Afro support. Athena in the jungle. And then
Okay.
the Artemis going mid. No, I'm sorry. It's Jingwei mid. I was wrong there. Switch the ADCs.
Jingwei mid, really?
Jingwei mid. Switch the ADCs.
I guess if you're worried about jungle rotations, Jingwei is much safer in the center of the map, but it feels like she's got less opportunity to ever match damage with Pele. She's never going to use like her knock up aggressively. It's clear wave, fall back, explosive bolts, keep the wave out of my tower. I feel like you're seeding a lot of pressure by putting Jingwei in mid, whereas Artemis, maybe you completely seed pressure, right? If Artemis gets first blooded or falls down in the 1v1, that's it. That's her laning phase over. She's never going to make a comeback up against Pele. The same is true of Jingwei, but I feel like there was higher odds for Artemis to be the one doing the killing. Whereas now you're essentially saying, well, late game, we've got double Hunter. We just got to get there.
But do the Jade Dragons have what it takes to get to late game? You're looking at Pele, Camazotz, two very early game divers, a Hades over on the solo lane. Do the Jade Dragons have the tools to get to late game, or are they maybe just hoping that the Leviathans don't step on the gas as quick as possible?
I think the Jade Dragons, so long as they can keep their head on straight until level 5, that's when they're given the resources to start surviving. Leverage the Athena Global for defense. Sun Wukong, of course, with Somersault Cloud, feels like he's nearly unkillable. Undying Love from Aphrodite, if you're playing passively, should be able to get you out of the majority of sticky situations. Getting to that level 5 point, I think, can be a concern here, considering how much damage is available to the Atlantis Leviathans. But if the Dragons get there, things get a lot easier.
For the Jade Dragons, hoping they can make it to late game to get this Hunter composition online. Can they do it? Are we going to see a sweep for the Leviathans? Let's jump into game.
Thank you so much, J-Mac and Mifflin. The Jade Dragons love this Athena, man, and I think we've seen it in 3 or 4 different roles at this point. This time it goes into the jungle role, and that's not the only interesting thing that we have for the Jade Dragons composition. You still got Frog, you still got Trelly, you still have Doug, man in the camera, and this is do or die for the Jade Dragons. And I think the Twitch poll says a lot, because we started at 50-50 in this set, and then even game 2 was pretty close, 47-53, still pretty close. But the Jade Dragons have dropped to a 25% favor here, Trelly, and I think the composition may have something to do with that favor.
The composition definitely might. Maybe, I mean, you couldn't have waited until the relics to see this situation, but if you take a look at what the Leviathans are cooking up, it's a lot of blinks. If I had to guess,
Wow.
I would say that at level 2, we are going to see Dardes either die or definitely lose his beats. I guess you got to pick your target, right? Because Lasbra has to choose between his dash or his taunt at level 2. It's probably usually the dash, right? You usually dash in, confound, have a good time, wait for that taunt at level 3. But if you have the dash, you better be pre-charging it because the double blink is going to come through, and you have to survive the Camazotz and the Pele damage. I'm actually excited to see this level 2 to see if they're able to find a kill or not. You got a Jingwei who could certainly die, but it's all about target selection, who gets there first, clear, etc. And in this case, Darius doesn't clear the way very fast, but look at the invade. Because the clear was so good, they're trying to steal away the purple here.
Oh my, and they do!
He get it! He gets
oh no, wrong. You steals away the purple and hits level 2 before anybody else on the map. And that's the type of pressure that you expect to see, I think, from this Leviathans draft. And they're not slowing down at all. Ronnie isn't even concerned with the wave. He just wants the chains. And they've got pressure everywhere. They're pushing up in mid. Hades pushing up on the right-hand side as well. And I'm looking at this composition. I expect nothing less. The Jade Dragons, they have some scaling in it. There's the double blink. Dardes isn't even forced to use the beads, though, so they do at least get away with that one. If you look at the other side, I mean, I'm waiting on Aphrodite, I'm waiting on Jingwei. The Leviathans have, like, it feels like they have, like, 4 assassins. They really only have 2, but everybody has blink.
Yeah, they're all trying to get active, and unfortunately their Vampire Bats doesn't connect. If the slow happens, then Darius is forced to beads, but since it isn't, you're not getting knocked up by Shinto. There's not going to be follow-up damage, and the original blink play does not work out. But at the very least, Shinto and Adapting have shown they want to get aggressive, and Wrong Yu is not going to stop. The good news, again, for the Jewel lane is that there's plenty of healing from Aphrodite. It should be fine that PBM is able to keep Bo nice and healthy, and that means that there's not going to be too much pressure towards the tower at the very least. But say goodbye to the shield buff. Things like that are not going to be going the way of the Jade Dragons anytime soon. And now, you gotta think, because again, one of the strengths of Hades in solo is his ability to one-shot blue buff, right? You can get it so easily because of the way the minions stack up, and the invades can be so impactful. Are you just gonna camp this solo lane as well? Because dual lane's ahead, just because of that invade. Is the blue buff invade gonna come through and just ruin Nika's lane as well? We'll have to see if Adapting makes any sort of headway over to the right side of the map. He's got some time before that blue spawns in.
Lasper starts over here and does take away that cooldown buff relatively early on, but Adapting seems to have chosen his fight on the left-hand side. It's paired with Wrong Yu, getting some more damage on the vote, and it's right as this purple buff is looking to spawn. They stole it away the first time around, and they're looking to do the same thing once again. And they don't even need the jungle pressure. Camazotz is not, Adapting is just clearing the green buff. They're trying to steal everything on that side of the map for the Jade Dragons, and now Adapting rotates over. They've got the slows coming through, the damage is enough to force them to back off, and there's gonna be no help on the rotation. But look on the other side, all this time Lasbra has just been farming. He'll steal the enemy's speed, he grabs a back camp, they trade camps across the map.
They do. Lasper tried to steal the blue away from Fine OK, but he was at least a little bit aware of that situation, so pulled it underneath his tower. I think that Adapting knew he was going to be giving up some form of farm on the right side of the map because of that gank. Just got confirmation that it was the speed buff. Luckily, red was not dropped in the process. But as we said, the duo lane is going to be having a good time. It's going to be a while before PBM and Vote are able to get over to that level 5, and that means that because they have beads, they should be safe from the possible Ares ult that comes in a bit. But you got to keep the wave at tower line, and that's exactly what the Jade Dragons are forced to do. They're not going to clear. They're going to last hit as many minions as possible and just leave the wave to die right in front of them. Because they can't step forward, right? They had a terrible start. Wrong Yu said, hey, we've got great clear with this Bumba Spear that Panda Cat started, or the Bumbas, right, that will eventually become a Bumba Spear. And because of that, the Ares Flames and the Bumbas, they just get there and they're able to put their dual lane in a fantastic position. I mean, not hitting level 2 just snowballs that lane so hard because you're not hitting level 2 and then you're not hitting level 5. Now you don't have ultimates, you can't step forward.
Tough pressure here from the Leviathans, and I think that's been their game plan in the last 2 games, right? We've had similar compositions in terms of the Jade Dragons trying to answer that back. This time, though, the Dragons try to go for a composition in picks and bans that they know they're going to scale with almost. Like, they pick towards picks that are going to scale a little bit harder into the late game. And given how the first 2 games have gone and how much they've struggled in trying to keep that pressure up and stay even, I don't know about that decision making, but I mean, right now they're just doing a good job of punishing, adapting. forced into the ultimate and the blink just for stealing the back camps, but will be able to get out alive. Can't maybe say the same for Vote as the blink in comes through from Wrongyu. The ultimate won't be channeled though, and everybody stays alive across the map.
Yeah, Undying Live was always an option because of that. No ultimate gets channeled. That's going to be the end of the damage, but that's PandaCat just showing exactly how much this Freya is able to do with the Telekind's ring already online. But that purple buff and the shield buff are all spawned in, so that's probably the next time we see any bit of grouping. Wrongyu and Adapting make the rotation over. They want to try and pull this away as quickly as possible. But Mike, if he had his way, would try and steal it. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. So unfortunately for Vote, does not get his hands on another purple buff. He's going to keep falling behind and behind. And you know what they say, Freya's only good early game. If you get behind, don't worry about it. She's going to fall off. Unfortunately.
Did they say that?
No one's ever said that. That means Vote is going to have a rough time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I feel like it's kind of the opposite, but PandaCat, I mean, he's gotten ahead on both of his other games on Magical ADCs. I don't know why it would slow down now, but this time he's not on the Yola run, he's on this Freya, which I think, you know, you don't get that Sanctified Field, which was a big fight aspect for the Leviathans in the last couple of games. So you lose out on that huge team fight ultimate, but you get a little bit more maybe solo kill potential, a little bit more instant damage coming out from this Freya, and the safety as well is going to be there for PandaCat. So I think this lead has the potential to benefit him even more than it did on the Yola run.
It definitely does, especially when you're up against the Artemis going Death Toll into the XC, the Aussie build. This takes such a long time to get online, and I think the desk highlighted it pretty well. The Jade Dragons are hoping that they are able to get to like 30+ minutes at a relatively even point. There's not much pressure here. I wouldn't be surprised if the Leviathans, one more item in, they start to look towards Gold Fury, start to look for a possible pull. With Freya and Telekind's this early on, you really do have a good amount of shred towards an objective like that. And this has been a big talking point pretty much this whole set. Quick objective pulls, sneaky objective pulls, ward coverage on these objectives, all of which have been very important for some of these teams to try and go for. At the moment, there's no wards directly on the Gold Fury, but there's a lot around. I think both teams would know if someone tried to go in for a pull this early on. But it would be the Leviathans because they have all the pressure on the world on the left side of the map.
The onus is certainly on the blue squad to force things into existence, and they've already done that pretty well. A 2,500 gold lead or so just 7 or 8 minutes into the game is almost staggering, right? It might even get some more as this Gold Fury is falling fast. It's already down to 20%. They're going to look for the steal if they can find it, but they do not have the steal. Oh my goodness! Polar Bear Mike grabs a double kill, and the chase is on for the Jade Dragons. They take down 2, and they're looking for a third as PandaCat will fall as well. The combo goes crazy, and the Dragons answer with 3.
Frog, turns out Athena's pretty good when no one has beads. Everyone starts blink. If you're going to hit a taunt like that, yeah, you better be able to find some damage. The Atlantis Leviathans, I thought, made the correct call. Hey, we've got pressure, we've got burn. Let's go in for this free Gold Fury. One thing that you fail to consider, what happens when Lasber shows up? Now Final K has to decide how long can he hold this. Is he able to get over the wall, but that Tiger Stun will be back up here. How much do you really heal? Not enough. Final K is not going to be able to live this one. He goes down. That Tainted Steel is working overdrive. 4-0 for the Jade Dragons.
They certainly put their money where their mouth is. They grab the first 4 kills and even out the gold lead pretty much entirely. I love to look at a replay of that Gold Fury play. The combo comes in beautifully. Look for Lasbra to blink over the wall here. Comes through a 4-man taunt
into the knockup.
And Dardes follows through with the damage. Beautiful combo there from the Jade Dragons. You got to think that is a good sign when they're looking to make it to late game. They even up the gold lead. Certainly they won't be able to do that when everybody has beads a little bit later on, but if all you're looking to do is hold on right now, that is a good look for the Dragons.
Yeah, most definitely. They have held on at this point. That is exactly what they have done. And that's the thing about blink comps, is if you close that gap and you make sure that they can't even use that blink, they are down a relic. There is no combat blink, right? You have to be out of combat to be able to close that gap and engage. And Lasber did it first, and beautiful by Dardes to follow up and hit that extra knockup. just so satisfying. You don't get to see group ups like that all the time. Leviathans, their whole lead that they had been building up this game has been thwarted. Still, gold lead in their favor, of course, but that big lead is no longer there as Shinto returns a lot of damage to Lasper. Why'd you dive this tower, bro? You don't have enough damage.
My goodness, Shinto asks the same question. I'm sure he's like, what are you doing, man? He just hands him a kill. And that damage from Pele, we've seen it all day, and really over the last couple of weeks. The buffs that came to this character and the assassin mids that we've been seeing come out, the damage can be astounding. Shinto shows it off a little bit right there. Vote playing careful over on this left-hand side, rightfully so. Still down 2 levels to PandaCat on this Freya. He has really only been able to sit under his tier 1 tower. He can't do much stepping up.
Yeah, I mean, put yourself in Vote's position, right? Look at his build. As an Artemis, you do not do anything with Aussie and Balanced Blade. Like, there's just nothing you provide to a team fight except for stuns from Tusky. You are essentially clearing minions and waiting, you know, for level 20. At this point, though, because Lasper overcommits, because he dove that tower, Shinto's in a fantastic position. This Pele has been able to get some extra gold online. Has already been a threat, as you said, pretty much this whole day because of how highly prioritized this pick can be. But anti-heal is going to be the topic of conversation. So far, a Tainted Steel picked up from FinoK. That's about it. This Aphrodite, on top of, you know, the Rod of Asclepius that Mike's been able to pick up, is going to be very annoying to try and burn through until a Cursed Ankh or, you know, Divine Brawlers, those sort of things are picked up for the Leviathans. It's just one of those things where sustained fights are going to be almost impossible to take.
With how valuable we saw the Athena taunt being last game, of course it was in support at that time. We saw it be so valuable, a game changer, a fight starter in the previous game. And I'm thinking after people saw that, after we just saw the 4-man taunt on the Gold Fury, I may be prioritizing beads a little bit more, which makes it kind of difficult to you know, itemize into something like that Ankh. We'll see how the anti-heal rounds out as we get later into this one. But similar to game number 1, Leviathans not having enough of a lead to feel comfortable, at least, putting up a beacon fight, and instead we'll let that one go. Instant blink. That's kind of impressive from FinoK. Like, he instantly had his finger on the trigger, was able to blink under the tower, so they trade blinks over on the right-hand side. And I'm back to being focused on this Gold Fury. That was where we saw the fight last time. That was where we saw all the kills traded out. All the while, though, Leviathans, maybe, I thought they might be setting up for it on spawn. Not only are they late to it, but they lose the beacon and the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, you can see Shinto was heading over to right lane, saw that Lazar was there, said, hey, there's going to be a Athena coming, just be ready. FinoK checks the build, says, wait, Lazar went and got Divine Ruin, and Nika has Tainted Steel. I can't just full heal off a wave if I decide to get ganked, so yeah, has his hand hotkeyed on the blink once.
Man.
Does not have it the second time, even with the ward coverage still there. FinoK was not ready, couldn't get the ult off, and does not live through that gank. Lazar is a patient man. He's able to pick up another kill.
Blink in, though, Shinto, and he's looking for the damage back onto Lasbra. Finds the trade 1-for-1 jungler for Soul Laner on that mid lane rotation, but Jade Dragons might not be done with this fight. The rotation over from Dardes and PBM will catch adapting out backing, but the pings come through. They'll use the opportunity of the backs to grab the Pyromancer, and unless Rongu can get there and has some sort of miracle steal, which we'll wait until it falls just to be sure. But the Jade Dragons, they play the macro game again. They grab the objective.
They certainly do. That Primal Fury is still active. It's going to be more and more difficult to try and find the dive, though, because Wrong You, again, is one of the easiest initiations you have. With Mike never being forced to Undying Love defensively so far this game, it's not going to have too many opportunities to go in for a play. PandaCat, though, we talked about the lead that he has. Remember when I said that Artemis is not good with Aussie and Balance Blade? Vote still has Aussie and Balance Blade. He's got plenty of gold in hand, I assume, but it's not backed since that comment was made. Just because he's like, hey, I'm not fighting, there's no reason for me to care.
He upgrades Aegis. Oh, no, he buys it. Oh, my goodness. I was going to say, I was like, he is so scared he has to upgrade.
I was like, bro, there's no way this man spent money on Aegis. Primal Fury started up, and Dardes is nearby. Did he not hear this?
Yeah,
I guess he did.
Nobody is in the vicinity for the Jade Dragons. They're walking back from base. The last time they answered back huge on the Primal Fury, or on the Gold Fury rather. This time it's just the Leviathans taking the objective for free. But if anything, that does well for them to even back up the gold lead. The Jade Dragons, certainly, they've done more than hold on. They've fought back. They might even be doing more in this left lane. This would be a huge kill if Vote is able to get it. The transition in comes from Wrongview. He's there to trade it out. A triple ultimate pulls nobody under the tower. Good ultimate answer back there from PBM. Adapting, rotating over now. Jade Dragons know when they want to disengage. They'll back off, but these backs may have left Freya alone once again. It's constant in and out pressure from the Jade Dragons. They're trying to find wherever, squeeze, the last bit of water out of the sponge. They're trying to find whatever they can.
They certainly are so far. They're able to grab the tower over on right because FineOK rotated to cover mid. Shinto rotated to try and cover Panda All the while, Lazarus, his dash is getting canceled. No way he makes it out of this one. This Pele has 100% of the kills so far this game. And Shinto, once again, is in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, good rotation. Not even really a rotation. Just sitting there on the left side of mid, catches out Lasbra. I think a big focus in game number 2 was how much Lasbra got caught out trying to sneak behind. He was on the Circuit, he was looking for those jump in moments where you could blink in, try and find the CC, forced to blink out of FineOK as it will just be a trade of ultimates there. But you try and find those types of plays, and the Leviathans did a great job of preventing the Circuit from doing that in game number 2. Athena operates very similarly, and I'm wondering, like, how are the Jade Dragons going to try to make space for this type of play? All the while, though, PandaCat trading ults on the left-hand side. Tusky not going to get this done, but the rotation is here, and the Athena ultimate is there for the damage. PandaCat falls, and Vote grabs the last hit. And the solo kill might be brewing on the other side of the map as well. Jade Dragons, for the first time, they are pushing towards a gold lead in this set.
They certainly are. Gets the beads from FineOK. Good play by Nika. He has been a threat in this lane because, number 1, the anti-heal means that FineOK can't heal back up. And number 2, the threat of always having to watch out for Lasbra ulting in has been weighing on FineOK. Level deficit. Once again, the beacon goes away with the Jade Dragon. Shinto finds the gank opportunity. Should be able to find the kill. He certainly does. This Pele is being the shining ray of hope for the Leviathans. 4-0 as FineOK finally gets his hands on a blue buff, this time being able to take one away while Nika's gone. I mean, here's the thing. The Jade Dragons need to be able to find a kill onto Shinto eventually, but so far, they've been able to say, hey, Dardes, you and Nika farm up, and we'll figure out the rest later.
And Nika's just been hanging around over in that right-hand side, quietly amassed a 1.5, 2-level lead just now with FineOK taking over to level 17. But look at that build from Sun Wukong.
But FineOK's actually up in gold. That's kind of wild. I guess because of the help from the team, like towers and stuff. But still, Nika, as you said, is online. He's got 4 solid items, which means carries are going to have a problem. Just trying to poke out this Wukong. He's able to get up into the Somersault Cloud relatively easy so far. But not when Shinto's there. That's what we've learned so far. The ult wasn't available, of course, but either way, this Pele does not care about anyone's health bar.
Well, I'm thinking like he's not as tanky as maybe he would normally feel. He's got 3 dedicated damage items.
He's got an Afro.
In those first 3 slots, and still has like 2,500 HP. They're grouping up around this right-hand side, though, and for good reason. They won't even look for the objective. It's to blink in onto Wrongview. The Ankh gets popped. FineOK on the backside and adapting into the ultimate as well. Everything gets traded, but nobody falls just yet. It's Nika dealing out the damage and forcing PandaCat into the ultimate. It's just the ultimate graveyard, though, now for both squads, as everybody's going to head back to base.
Yeah, I think that the Jade Dragons know if they went in for a Gold Fury attempt, or an Oni Fury rather, the Fire Giant could have been picked up. That's why Mike and Dardes just went over to check, make sure that Fire Giant or the Pyro wasn't being pulled. It was not for the time being. And now Pyromancer's being looked at by the Jade Dragon. Stardust has plenty of damage for an objective like that. But look at the ultimates on the side of the Leviathans. They still have Volcanic Lightning and no escape. And Final wanted to wrap around, but Nika found him out.
Undying Love forced early in the fight, still holding on to that aggressive ultimate from Shinto. He's been the playmaker so far on this Leviathan squad and still is able to get in there if they find a window. But everybody will back off instead. No Pyromancer pull. Looks like the Jade Dragons are heading towards that Oni Fury, and they may have found themselves a free one. No ward vision over here for the Leviathans. They just, I don't know, they get caught sleeping. Maybe they're happy to trade the objectives, but the Dragons are certainly going to take this Gold Fury, and unless Nika has a miracle steal, it'll just be an objective trade.
Certainly will. This ult should get up into Somersault Cloud. Nika does just barely. That Volcanic Lightning, though, with a scary sight as the Fire Giant starts up. Dardus is the first and only one here, and Lasbra is on the flank. It's going to be a 50-50, but they've got plenty of time before the rest of the Dragons show up.
Fire Giant down to 40%. Lasbra, nobody knows that he's here. He has to go in for this steal, and he will not get it in late on the blink, and he'll get turned around on as a result. PandaCat grabs the last hit onto the jungler. The Leviathans call the bluff. They say, yes, go ahead, do Gold Fury. We'll take the Fire Giant, we'll take the Pyromancer, and they've got the reins back on this game.
And that's the issue there, right? Lasbra had the flank play, but what he didn't have was vision. He did not know how low that Fire Giant was. He just had to charge up his dash and hope that he made it in time. Did not, of course, make it in time. Ended up blinking into his death, and then there's no way you're channeling Defender of Olympus. Now, the Leviathans have the 5v4 lead until Shinto decides to show up. With a wraparound from Nika, it seems that the Jade Dragons are okay trying to defend this.
Link in, pulls in a couple, forces the ultimate out of Mike. Fine-OK is the one being against on. Nika drops him down to 40% HP, and that'll slow down the engagement, at least for the Leviathans. They've got the Fire Giant, but still at only 20 minutes into the game, they don't have the lead they've had in the past 2 games. They have to be more hesitant.
I've been loving this answer to the Hades so far. A lot of people have been asking, what do you do to try and deal with this Hades? The Tainted Steel Brawlers combo from Nika means that Final K can't just eat off this poke and go to a wave and full heal. In fact, Final K takes a rotation of abilities from Nika and has to leave. That lane, despite, objectives and actual structures on map going the way of the Leviathans, was definitely won by Nika. The question now becomes, can Final K still exist as a backliner for his team? Can he still dive with this build because of how much it relies on healing and lifesteal? So far, hasn't been able to get anything too impactful off, sitting in 0-2-1. But has the ability to get to Dardus, has the ability to get to Boat and try and force out something. That's kind of been the play call, right? Wrong Yu goes in, gets Undying Love, gets some ultimates out, and then Final K is supposed to dive. It's just difficult when you're trying to dive when you're already half health.
It's the anti-heal on the side of the Dragons, and Nika bringing a lot to the table for that conversation. On the other side, though, we said we would circle back to this. I think it's only, I won't even get a chance, Dardus is getting, oh my goodness, the damage is massive, and Shinto picks up the 5th kill and is now on a rampage as the rest of his team pushes down the tier 1. All the while, what is this? A split push on the right-hand side leaves PBM and Vote in a 2v5 under their own bird. It's going to have to be a trade. We'll see if they can get back in time. We'll go to a quick listen in with the Leviathan, so they're pushing down. Can you break down that comm at the end for me, Trelly?
I think what that means is like, hey guys, good job. We just did a good play, and that's like, like that's how I anticipated that. Who said it though? I have no idea. If I had 5 guesses, I might get it wrong. I have no idea who said that.
I might guess the coach.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who I'm guessing at that point though, but. I mean, They grab the tier 2, they grab the mid bird, they play the in and out game. It felt like perfectly. The Jade Dragons, of course, they get a Phoenix on the right-hand side as well, so they trade bird for bird, which is at least something to write home about while you're the team not with Fire Giant. But Leviathans, they've now solidified this lead. It's starting to feel like the control that they have had in the past couple of games, but we just watched a game 2 where it felt like you said, they should have closed it out 12 minutes earlier or something in game number 2. And this is around that time, it feels like. This is where if they are going to close it out, if they are going to force a game-ending Fire Giant fight or a game-ending Phoenix Siege, this is where they would do it. And the Jade Dragons maybe are in one of the better positions that they've been in this same spot all series.
Yeah, I would say so. The Jade Dragons have been, playing off the back foot. This time around, the split push ended up working fine. If you're the Leviathans, there's a reason they weren't stressed about that because A, you have the lead, B, you're getting a Phoenix anyways, and C, once you get Fire Giant, you just push up right lane. Who cares about fire minions if you're just clearing them as you push up and get your own fire minions on that side of the map? The issue would have been if it was a left Phoenix, but it's not. So again, the Leviathan should be able to deal with this right Phoenix being down relatively easy, but the Jade Dragons have opened up a win condition for themselves. If they get a nice fight here, that Phoenix is down, right? They're able to push forward. Unfortunately for them, there's no one here. Mika was the only one standing by and decided to give that up, so now the Jade Dragons are sticking around. Will they head back to base? Seems like yes, not even going for any more Phoenix calls. I think that is the correct call in this situation. They're able to push up right, the Leviathans, that is. And let's see, will they go in for the tier 2 and then push in for the Phoenix, or will they grab the tier 2 and back up? Both are viable strategies, but how confident are you feeling considering this game, wasn't always in your favor? Besides, if you weren't Shinto, if you were Leviathan, it wasn't looking that great.
Blink in from Wrong. You grabs 2, but the ultimate gets forced, and the fight happens at the speed buff as well. Lazra getting forced out, and it's split under the tier 2 tower. The Wrong You trap catches him for a couple of seconds, and they trade across the board. Wrong You goes down and trade for Lazra as the fight splits, and now FineOK has found all the focus here. Traps 3, but doesn't have the damage, and it's Nika. Everybody turning around onto Panda Cat. Double kill for Dardes as the Jade Dragons find 3, and they're still on the chase.
They certainly are adapting. Forced into the Bat of Hell does not have much damage here. Shinto doesn't have the ultimate. I'm thinking adapting wants to get out, but doesn't have too much safety. No relics that are going to get him out of trouble. He just has to run and hope his cooldowns will be enough. It seems like they will, barring some crits here from Dardes. Dash will be up over the speed buff. And remember, that right side Phoenix is already down. The Jade Dragons push forward, and Shinto's got himself in a good position to try and go for a wraparound play here.
They could push down the birds here, and it looks like they're going to try and do just that. Let's hop into a Jade Dragons listen in as they look for more objectives. Dude, it's just the classic Mike, right? They just want to go around and fight, and man, what a listen in there. They do take down the right-hand Phoenix. They choose not to risk it there on the mid lane Phoenix, and instead choose to back up, play the more disciplined route. They get their mid Phoenix up, so they are back on the right foot. You look compose. You look good. Yeah.
I mean, I was
feeling good.
I'm glad to know that the Jade Dragons have a game plan. I was worried that they were just, operating on full passion and just, luck and cheap shots, but no, there is a plan. Get farm, and the rest will come. And in this case, I think that is defending EFG when it spawns in. That'll be in about a minute or so. And because of that, the Jade Dragon said, hey, we don't have the Phoenix down anymore. We can back up. We can recollect. Try and get full items online. Dardes didn't decide to upgrade the starter item. He's going in for the dominance and assumingly a Deathbringer in that last slot. Just get some extra damage online. But it's the Jade Dragons who are grouped up near this Oni Fury. And you always have to watch out for these sort of plays. Adapting, yeah, maybe he can survive. Bat out of hell into a blink afterwards. He's going to be able to close some ground. But you walk into Shinto, or you walk into even like Panda Cat or Wrong You around the wrong corner, and you're going down quickly. FineOK, again, has not been that massive damage dealer. He's not been that tanky source of damage either. The anti-heal on top of the crits have been a real issue for this Hades. You can see the pivot went into the Spectral Armor last item, said, hey, hold up, this Jingwei is swinging, and guess what? Boat's got crit online as well now that Fail Not's done. I need to play a little bit safer with my positioning.
And I don't know if these engages have been working for the Leviathans. I feel like now 3 times I've seen Rongyu blink in, channel the no escape. He always grabs 2 or 3 with the chains, but all he's doing is trading for the PBM ultimate. Maybe he's grabbing a set of beads, but the follow-up from the Levi's just hasn't been there.
Yeah, I didn't get to see exactly how Shinto got 100 to 0, or I guess 100 to 99 there, right? He had 1 HP left at that point, but he's the damage, right? The call is Mike's going to blink in, pull Undying Love, Shinto's going to blink in, go on whatever carry no longer has Undying Love. Didn't end up working out, and the clutch placed trap by Vote guaranteed the kill onto Rongyu. And now, a jungle fight, I think, suits them so much better. If the Leviathans are fighting on even territory, like maybe in mid lane right now onto an Aphrodite, it just looks so much better.
Oh my goodness, they've found them caught out in the mid lane. It's the 2 tanks, and PBM has no dash to escape. Nika even has to channel the ultimate, but it's not in time. Rongyu gets the tick damage off, and a critical misplay from the Jade Dragons. They get caught out in the mid lane and lose their solo.
I mean, that's the thing, and that's the analysis, right? I disagree with the call up until this point, but are the Jade Dragons going for the wraparound to EFG, or are they going for an end call? It doesn't seem like either's going to work out, because look at this, Leviathans. They know, and now Mike is going to be left out to dry. Do you stick around if you're Lasper? I don't think so. I think you let him go.
They try for the wraparound, but they get punished. Levi's stick it out. You got Panda Cat's played with Mike before. You got to think he's like, he's coming behind us. We got to be prepared for it. And this time they are. They take down both of the tanks from the Jade Dragons. The Leviathans group up on the Fire Giant, and this one is EFG. The big 3 letters there are going to mean a lot more damage coming through with this enhanced Fire Giant buff. You remove the backdoor protections, a ton of benefit coming through, and they've got their right side Phoenix up now as well. This tier 2 on the right side will be the last to fall, and they've got to choose where they want to push. Is it on this weakened Phoenix, or is it in one of the side lanes?
And again, that's the thing. That's what I noticed from their comps. Insane confidence from the Jade Dragons, and they had the right for that, but even fights were not their strength, right? When they're fighting under tier 2 tower under Phoenix, the Jade Dragons look great. But then they stepped up, they take a fight in even territory, or a lack thereof a fight, and the Leviathan said, wait, you're not under a bird? Yeah, we can fight, we can dive you as much as we want. And in this case, it's staggered picks, but ends up working out because Nika didn't get up into the somersault cloud. Final K uses the Runic Bomb, that's going to be an easy mid Phoenix, and now right Phoenix being seized at the exact same time.
Yeah, it's a split here from the Levi's, and 2 Runic Bombs gets them, count them, 2 Phoenixes, the left side, or rather the right side, and the mid side. The left side's the only one that lives, and that is the Phoenix that they may turn around and come right back to, because that took them approximately 60 seconds off of their EFG buff. They didn't burn a single ultimate. I don't think they burned a single relic. Looks like beads, actually.
Yeah,
they're
Fino
off
beads.
of Fino K. So shame on him for having to use anything in that sort of engagement. But I mean, the Leviathans use almost nothing except for the Runic Bombs they were going to use anyways, and are set up now to have fire minions pushing in while they still have time to push down the left bird.
Yep, they certainly do. The Jade Dragons have to decide if it's an ambush call or not. It might look like it, though. Look at this. Remember, no beads on Final K. Lasbra and Nika walking up. Does Final K know? He's looking around the corner. He's got an inkling of an idea that someone's nearby. But as long as Shinto is here, Final K shouldn't be getting blown off of one taunt. There's just not that much damage to go in for the kill. Not more than Shinto can output anyways.
Oh, they were standing on a ward.
Oh, that makes even more sense. I was going to say, does Final K know he's looking towards them a little bit? Even more coverage there to reveal that play. But there is one more Phoenix to go. And it looks like it's going to be a 3-2 split. If you let Shinto and Final K go unchecked, that Titan could just die. So that's why you got to put at least some presence towards the mid lane.
Patience is a virtue here. They've got fire minions pushing up. Rongyu doesn't want to wait anymore and will force both carry ultimates with the no escape. Final K gets into the back line. The health bars are still full, though. Nika goes in and immediately is out with the Ox form, but the space is made, and the Phoenix goes down. The base is broken for the Jade Dragons.
So far it is, but a lot was used by both squads there. Only Lasbra's ultimate left for the Jade Dragons, and the Levi's have to operate with just Panda Cat and Shinto having access to their ults. Doesn't seem like that's enough to try and go in for an end call. They're not feeling confident. They don't feel like they can go in and actually kill that Titan. So they decide to retreat, get an elixir of power onto Shinto. I did see an elixir of defense as well for Fine OK. So 3K pots galore for the Leviathans. They have that extra damage. And we have seen a few times today how quickly that Titan will melt in a situation like this in a 5v5 with EFG. The Jade Dragons are going to have to take a fight outside of their base, whether that be in the jungle somewhere that they set up or just around the Phoenixes. But can't let that Titan get poked out, because a Hades ult alone with some help from Shinto or some auto attacks from Panda Cat is enough to blow that Titan over.
35 minutes into this one, and it feels like it's 50. We've got 6 slots for every player on the map at this point. Might not even need to talk about it. Nika's ult gets forced out before the fight can even happen. They still have a couple more seconds on this enhanced Fire Giant, but I think it will likely be playing around for some lazy backs if someone's in the wrong position, but and may choose to back off towards this Fire Giant as the EFG falls off in just 5 seconds here for the Levi's. But with everybody being 6 slotted, the difference here might come through in these power pots. I saw a 3K pot for Shinto, I saw a 3K pot for Panda Cat. I think there's a 3K defense pot on the side of Fine OK.
Yep.
So just because they're 6 slotted, they're still feeling powerful, and they can get damage like that. Mike is forced out instantly, has to use the ultimate, and that's the go button for the Leviathans. No escape onto 4, pulls back in the support, and that might be the pick they were looking for. They might stick around.
They probably should. They've got all 3 Phoenixes down, right side spawning in here. Surely the Leviathans have to decide. Do you go in for the end call, or you wait for the Phoenixes? It's already spawning in, so they've got their time. They're going to grab mid Phoenix first. Do you wait for your ultimate? Fine OK didn't even use Pillars of Agony yet. They have so much Titan damage. The Jade Dragons have to decide as well. Are we going in, or are we just trying to hold the Titan? They're just defending for now.
Leviathans won game number 2 on a last-ditch effort. They just went in on the Titan, and it's Fine OK who's in first. Panda Cat takes down Boat, and the Titan is falling fast. The Leviathans close it out, take it in a clean sweep.
This one looked a lot better for the Jade Dragons early on. Again, that beautiful 4-man taunt off the Gold Fury started to snowball things in the wrong direction. The Leviathans, though, they kept confident. They were able to control their team fights. One misstep, stepping way too far up in mid lane, and then it was that conveyor belt effect of one pick into another pick into, hey, let's get EFG. Now your Phoenixes are down, the map's broken, and it's just easy to pick apart the game like that. I'm glad, number one, that the sense of urgency was found. The Leviathans recognize, hey, it's EFG territory. As long as we get at least one pick, that Titan can just melt. We don't have to sit here doing this dance anymore.
Right.
We can just end these games.
Yeah, I mean, the picks at the end were devastating.
Yep.
Right as the EFG spawn, they lose both of their tanks. You got to think they're scratching their heads on that one. It certainly doesn't feel good to lose that one with the Jade Dragons. But they tried a couple of different comps. They weren't able to find the success that they were looking for. A 3-0 for the Leviathans, and we'll throw it back to the desk to break it down.
We saw just a couple times in this game, Miff, where one wrong misstep or one really good play can instantly turn the tide of a game. It started out really strong for Leviathans, 2,000 gold lead with no kills on the board. Keep stealing away this purple buff, keep vote down. And Lazarus steps up, makes a massive play. 4-man taunt followed by Dardas' damage. Ends up netting, I believe, 3 kills at the end of all of that. Game goes pretty well for the Dragons, and as mentioned, one little misstep near the end in mid lane swings things back home for Leviathans. They're able to get the EFG and push themselves in for a Game 3 win.
And even go all the way back to the beginning of that game, I believe the slash line reads 4-1 in favor of the Jade Dragons off rip. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, Jade Dragons starting to pull up a lead. This is it. Thumbs up to them. We're going to go to a Game 4. Things are looking good. Gold Fury happens. That fight looks great. And I neglected to look at the gold because the Jade Dragons never had it. They never had the gold lead. Maybe 500-600 at one point, but for the most part, the Leviathans were right on top of them, right there, even in gold, even at these poor slash lines. You can see it there reflected 3-6. Leviathans right next to them. And the Jade Dragons struggled to find objectives on map. They struggled to turn these small picks into more significant wins. And because of the style of composition that they had, even with those early picks, it was 4-man rotations towards enemy blue buffs, towards the soul lane to make these things happen. And when you have 4 people on one side of the map, the entire other side is getting farmed out by the Leviathans. So it was a major struggle for the Jade Dragons in that regard. I also do want to highlight PBM's build. Decides to go a little bit more damage than I would have liked, especially out of Aphrodite support. The previous game, a lot of damage makes a little bit of sense to me because of how quickly he started to fall behind. But because this game was more even for a large stretch of the first 20 or so minutes, feels like some of that defense shared by Aphrodite could have gone a long way in helping out your front line or even your backliners stick around and fight a little bit more frequently. Mike just does not find the full value on that Aphrodite pick. Damage wasn't quite there. Healing wasn't really quite there either. 7,500 of both. Just not great. That Aphrodite almost feels like I'm back in phase 1. I've not seen enough out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I can understand the Rival Asclepius. You get the extra healing to your team. You get the Aura CDR. That's great. Chronos Pendant, maybe at that point they're still kind of even-ish. Like maybe a little head, get the CDR, get a little more damage, but I think that final nail in the coffin may have been that Devontae when that comes out at the very end there. Atlantis Leviathans able to win this one out 3-0. So 2 best of 5s today. Both of them now going 3-0. This one for the Atlantis Leviathans, and a great start to their new phase here in the Road to Worlds. It was a struggle for really both of these teams. You look back in phase number 1, it was a tough start for those guys. They have, who was it, the Warriors inside of their group as well as the Gladiators. I think the highest outside of the Warriors was like a 3-7 start. Great look for the Leviathans to get their foot off right here with a day 1 win. And we got a member of the Leviathans standing by for our post community. We'll throw it right over to him.
Thank you so much, J-Mac. We've got Rongu here. Congrats on the win today, 3-0 from you guys. And I got to tell you, you were frying all 3 games. I think you in particular, game number 1, you had the Cabrakan with the Absolution, just locked out Mike. In game number 2, especially with the taunts, it felt like you were leading those engagements. Do you feel like you are the leading shot caller on this team and you are running those engagements?
Well, first of all, I think like we're having so much fun like with this new update with Pandakat. I think like she's like a really funny guy to like play with. So like if you have fun and you're good at the game, it's just like the best experience you can have. So ideally, it's like Kenneth and I that made the decision. But then, for example, I don't know if Pandakat say, "Oh, this guy back, we can do goals, yes or no," and then we just make the decision of it. But yeah, pretty much it's just like the jungler and the support that run the maps, and yeah, it's just like you get the information and then you make a decision of it, you know.
Right now, good vibes though, definitely important in a leader. In game 3 there though, things got a little bit tense for you, I think, around that mid game. The 4-man taunt into the combo on the Gold Fury. Were you guys feeling any sort of way after that? I mean, you guys definitely, it sort of collapsed into 30 minutes, and then you guys found the agency and just closed it out. What were the mentals like?
Yeah, well, at the beginning it was like, yeah, we can do gold, and we didn't see anyone. Like there was like nobody spotting our wards, and then Athena literally just like blinked over the wall, and then got a 4-man taunt. It was like, oh. And then we were like, we're still like up. Both was like not getting waves for like 3 minutes, I think, and then Max was just like dancing in his fucking booth. So it was like, okay. But yeah, I think it was a pretty rough, unfortunate timing because we didn't see him. But overall, I think we managed to come back.
Still feeling good, and of course it showed, right? 3-0 in the set. Leading towards the rest of the SPL, right? That's only week 1. You guys take a 3-0 against the Dragons. With this new meta, the new Fire Giant layout, the new, everything going on with all these changes, do you guys feel like you have a solid hold on things and you're feeling good going through the rest of the season?
Yeah, I feel like we didn't. I think we're not at our top level yet. We need more experience, but I think we're gonna be in a good end of the year.
Feeling good from Rongu. Once again, congrats on the 3-0 win. We'll send you back home. We'll send it back to the desk to break it down.
That goes into a little bit of what we were kind of talking about, at the top of the day. You come into a very fresh meta, especially with like the kickoff tournament. It's who can make kind of the wild changes immediately to kind of adapt to that initial kind of style of meta. Now that we've had 3, almost 4 weeks for it to sit in, starting to see where teams fall in, and then as it continues to progress in, we'll kind of see what changes get made by teams through picks and bans, through play style, to really see how teams end up shaking out as it goes through. We can take a look at the schedule, because that's all that we got for you today for Smite, but don't worry, we still got 2 more, Saturday and Sunday, both at 11 a.m. You can tune right in to 2 more best of 5s each day. Starting off tomorrow will be the Warriors and the Hounds. We'll get a first look at the Eldritch Hounds since the kickoff tournament, and the Gladiators and the Dragons to close out tomorrow. And then Sunday, we'll kick things back with the Ravens and the Kings, and the Leviathans and the Ferrymen will round off our first week of, I believe, 7 weeks total for the Road to Worlds regular phase. Remember, best of 5 every single set for the entirety of this regular phase. Plenty of Smite action to be had, but so far here in our first day, it has just been nothing but 3-0s.
And that's a trend that won't continue, man. I feel like at the beginning of every phase, it's teams, maybe one team figures things out a little bit earlier, or maybe one team's just better at that early game crutch style. That's PBM talking, not me. But I will say this, J-Mac. and I think I speak for the fans here as well, there is one team that you're going to have to catch every single setup for the rest of the year, and it's the Highland Ravens. I mean, there's just so much drama happening. If you guys aren't following Smite Pro Twitter or Smite Pro Reddit, make sure you're keeping in tune there, because it's a good time to be a Smite fan. There's a little bit of drama on the board, and I'm loving it.
A little bit of spice out there on the timelines, and make sure you're tuning into every Smite event out there. Make sure you're tuning back in tomorrow, because that's all we have for you today. On behalf of myself, Mifflin, everyone, Caster, everyone behind the scenes, thanks for watching. We'll see you at 11 a.m. for day 2.